We are also going to be taking live calls at 202-683-4570 and press star 5 to speak, so you want to save that number. Now, tonight we'll be getting an update regarding the Kenyan Arvo Otieno, who was killed by police officers last year near Richmond, Virginia, while at a mental health treatment center. So please stay tuned. And just a quick reminder that DJ Sunny Sistuki will be in the building right here in Kilimanjaro Studios next week. So mark your calendars right now. That's going to be next week. Just that's the first time this is being announced in public. So please mark your calendar. DJ Sunny Sistuki for the first time live on the One Mic Show.
Like the last time he was supposed to be here.
Yes. Okay, na bila kusahau tapokea mziki toka DJ wetu machachari mleta habari DJ Omosh Fire, na tutadunda kule viwanjani na Mika Ochezi yake nambari 7 mgongoni, akituletea habari za michezo. So moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwana habari wako mpendwa Ali Badawi. Kwetu wananiita mteule na wengine mniite mjukuu wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now, this is how we're actually going to be talking about the financial ramifications of marriage. Are you responsible for your spouse's family financially? And is it fair to expect your breadwinning spouse to take care of your struggling family financially? Now, feel free to start dropping your views in the comment sections to let us know what you think. And I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. It's Friday the 22nd of September, and we're streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Please remember to subscribe to our One Mic Show YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at One Mic Show. On panel with me tonight is Mr. One Mic Kamakawa. Our sports anchor Mika Och will be joining us via Zoom, and our resident DJ Omoshfa has already been live on the decks and at Roga Roga. And also not forgetting our super producer Mubelwa Bandio. And don't forget that next week DJ Sunny Sistuki is gonna be in the building, so mark your calendar. Now today, before we get started, now DJ Omoshfire will be giving us a quick update on a court case that followed the untimely death of a Kenyan in Richmond, Virginia, who was smothered to death by police officers. And just to recap, maybe for those who might have missed this story, earlier this year, back in March, the life of a 28-year-old Kenyan Arvo Otieno was cut short in the hands of several police deputies near Richmond, Virginia. Now, footage released shortly after his death showed him being pinned by multiple police officers at a mental health treatment facility and stopped breathing shortly after. Now, 7 sheriff deputies and 3 hospital employees were indicted by a grand jury on charges of second-degree murder. And then prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump took up this case on behalf of Arvo Otieno's family. Now, you'll also remember that the One Mic Show at that time had the privilege of hosting Arvo's brother Leon Ouko shortly after Arvo's death in what was a very emotional episode, as we can remember. Now, DJ Omosh has actually been closely following this court case and this story, and we actually got an update yesterday from Henrico Circuit Court judge in Virginia regarding this wrongful death case. So I'm gonna give it up to DJ Omosh awasalimie kwanza, and also just to briefly tell us exactly what happened, especially for those people who are not around here. DJ Omosh Fire, karibu sana.
Wanisikia?
Loud and clear, loud and clear. How are you doing today?
Niko sawa, niko salama salmini.
Okay.
Wasikilizaji, karibuni.
Yeah.
My fans, all those number 1s, number 2s and 3s, we know who you are. Thank you. So this is a brief update on Arvo Otieno, a young man who was unfortunately, what's the right word? Smothered to death. Originally from Kenya, lived in the Richmond, Virginia area, Henrico County. And so there was a case, there was an ongoing case for wrongful death, for, I guess it was a criminal charge, as well as a civil charge.
A civil case.
Civil case.
Yeah.
And so basically the civil case was settled for $8.5 million to the family. And of that, the Henrico County was to pay the bulk of it, which was something like, I think, 4.5 million or something like that.
Okay.
And then it was split with the state. The state was paying something like 2 million. And then there was the sheriff's office paying something like 1.5 or something like that. So
okay.
whatever, it added up to 8.5 million.
Okay, now this was just a civil settlement.
So yes, correct. This is the civil settlement, and so the
And what exactly does that mean? Like when we talk about a civil settlement.
So a civil settlement means that the accused or the people who are accused of killing him, which is I think it's a total of 8 people. I think it was something like 3 cops and I think 5 state hospital employees. They have a criminal case. So the criminal case is still ongoing. The civil case has nothing to do with the criminal case. So basically, the civil case is what they are settling with, say, the state, and what the state, the county, and the sheriff's office, who, by the way, as part of that settlement, did not admit any wrongdoing. So they are basically saying we didn't do anything wrong, lakini shikeni ido.
Okay, and at this point, I want to welcome. We have our lawyer, our resident lawyer Pablo is also in the building. Maybe Pablo, you can also chime in a bit to make people understand, because this was a civil settlement.
Correct.
So basically, the entity itself, be it the county or is it the police department or the state, they're saying we did nothing wrong. But
Yes.
But your son died in our hands.
Yes.
And we're giving you
for this person passing away. We recognize that this person passed away. Sasa, we are giving you, but we're not taking any blame.
Okay.
That's part of the settlement, know. So it's, you agree on terms, whatever that number ended up being, and maybe they had asked for more. I can't remember what the actual ask for it was, but they settled out of court.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay, but now the criminal case will still proceed.
The criminal case is still on. It's still proceeding. Has nothing to do with this at all.
But now the question is, who is the defendant then? If the police department, the county, the state are already taking themselves out through this settlement, so who are?
It's the individuals. The actual individuals who have been accused of taking part in the death of this young man. Okay. So is it 7 people? There were 7 or 8.
Yeah, there were 7 or 8 people.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are the ones who will have the criminal case.
Yeah, and that was a couple of sheriff deputies, and there was also employees.
Yes, employees of the hospital. Yes.
So basically, like the hospital, the county, the state has told those people, you guys are on your own. We've already absolved ourselves.
Mujipange.
Wow. Okay.
Mujipange from the criminal. Now, what was interesting was that as of Monday, there was a wrongful death suit filed.
Okay.
I don't know what the repercussions of that are, and maybe if we have a legal expert, somebody who can chime in, what the difference between the wrongful death lawsuit, the criminal case, and of course we know the civil case has already been settled. And of that settlement, we had Leon, his brother was here.
Leon
right?
Oko, who was here on the one-man
So the bulk
show.
of that money was divided between him and his mom.
Okay.
Because he actually was the is it the administrator? He was the administrator of his brother's estate.
Okay.
So the bulk of that was between him and his mom, and then there was another small amount that was split amongst other relatives, like about 25K each.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right. Now this is interesting here, and Pablo here is saying, I agree with DJ Omosh. That was an out-of-court wrongful death settlement. The case against the hospital employees was dropped. Now it's just the cops on the case. Okay, so that's a good update. So I think so. The hospital employees no longer in hot soup. It's just the cops who are involved in this. And then now, Omosh, we are seeing, I don't know whether it's a strategy of securing a civil settlement first, then pursuing the criminal element of the case, because you're seeing this criminal element now came in after this civil suit was settled. Does this represent maybe a new strategy that helps like people who are in this situation pursue a criminal case in comfort? Because we've seen situations where sometimes civil cases take years.
Now, you see, the difference here is the I think it's the state attorney who basically was like, no, or was it the chief of police? They basically were like, look, as we understand, this family has gone through trauma. This was unnecessary, so we will settle with them. We are not gonna, play this out, let it hold on, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So some of this settlement money was even reimbursement for the funeral funds, which had actually been paid for by Kina Al Sharpton's, what is it called? Is it something Action Network or something? I forget what the name
Is it Political Action Network?
yes.
I can't
So
remember
they
the name.
actually paid for the funeral.
Yeah.
So they are being reimbursed for the funeral off of these monies. So so there's some things in there, and it could be that they also were active in pushing and going, between them, Ben Crump and other civil organizations, may have gone and pushed hard for the family. And remember, for us, it got to a point where we're like, okay, EKC menyamaza.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on?
But there was a lot of action happening.
There was things that were happening, but it seems they were happening behind closed doors, and
Yes.
it's just that it wasn't on camera.
Exactly.
And now we've seen, what's come out of that, where they've had the settlement. The money has actually been paid out, by the way. So it's not like it was just the money has actually been paid out. To me, I wish that this was even settled for something, for a big dollar amount, because somebody may say that $8.5 million is a lot of money, but it's not enough for me to in my judgment, for people to say lesson learned, ini kitu hatuwezi fanya. It needs to be kitu kama 100 to 200 million.
It needs to be a punitive amount.
Yes, because once you pick a chaps like that, then it sets a precedent for other places, because then you have a case that you can go to and you can say, okay, kule pia, so and so versus so and so,
Yeah.
kuna hivi do imetoka. But if you get figures like that, that's pretty much, for lack of a better word, what is it called? Kama ile insurance ya daktari. That's basically a payment out through the insurance.
All right. And Pablo here is also further saying that this is that is a strategy by the state to settle the wrongful death in a civil way. This is meant to show that the state is empathetic to the family, and also kind of provide an easy path for the criminal case against the officers, which actually is very interesting, because I was reading in one of the publications from Richmond, there is a guy called Macaulay Porter, a spokeswoman for Governor Glenn Youngkin, the Virginia governor, who on Wednesday said that the governor pushed for a settlement with a hope that doing so proactively and fairly might alleviate in a small way some of the suffering that Avo's mother and brother faced, recognizing that no settlement can take the place of a loved one. So I think this was done in good
Kimaksudi.
faith.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was done in good faith, but also to show that they had no malice
Okay.
towards the family.
Yes.
And so then the question would be that then would somebody then look at, because you still have to pick your jury from people who now know
From
of the
peers.
civil settlement,
Yes.
and it may taint, those are chaps,
It
and
may influence.
yeah, they may even say they don't want to have the trial in their area, just because people have heard of the settlement. Waende mahali wanafikiri pengine people have not heard of it, or you go
Okay.
you pick some chaps from the backwoods huko.
All right. I want to welcome our other listeners. I can see Jackie Wanjiri is in the building all the way from New York.
Jamata.
Matoda Forster from Baltimore is in the building. Slay from Texas, kama kawaida, yuko ndani pia. Pablo, of course. Amina Holmes all the way from Ohio. And of course, our super producer Mubelwa Bandio. And Uno Mike, I want to get you into the conversation. Salimia wasikilizaji na watazamaji kwanza. And tell us, just generally what you think about this new development. This, by the way, was just published yesterday. Of course, a lot of things were happening in the background. For those who are just tuning in, this is regarding the civil settlement that the family of Avo Otieno, the Kenyan who was smothered to death by police near Richmond, Virginia. There was a settlement that was reached in what DJ Mosh Fire was updating us. Uno Mike, what are your thoughts about all this from the day when we interviewed Avo's brother Leon Otieno? That was back in March, I believe.
I think I'm with Omosh on this one. I think it is sad that a life had to be lost, and of course the circumstances under which Avo transcended, passed on, excruciate. 11 minutes he's being smothered.
Umenyongwa.
11
Umenyongwa.
minutes.
Ali, you're not breathing. You're
You're not
fighting
doing
to
anything.
breathe.
And we're talking about not just one. We're talking about a bunch of people.
There were 7.
There are like about 7 or 8 people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
and all of those
And they
guys.
are not small people.
No.
No, I mean, these are guys who are putting their feet, their knees, their whatever. So, again, you know, ili iwe funzo, probably something bigger. I don't know if it's a jurisdiction issue, like in terms of how much you can, like when it comes to compensation, if it's a jurisdiction issue, like this is the only, you're only allotted a certain amount or not. But I think more than that, you know, and another thing, you know, like for them not to you know, like they say we're going to settle, but we're not agreeing.
We're not taking
We're
responsibility.
not taking
Yes.
So
responsibility.
that in itself is an issue.
That for me is an issue.
Yes.
But I think in the world of public opinions, we already know that means you're not taking responsibility, you're responsible.
The damage is done. The damage
we know.
is done.
I think we can safely say that no matter what they say, no matter what statement they say, that they're not responsible, they are responsible.
Absolutely.
Because if they were not responsible, they would not have settled.
I wonder if by them making sure that was actually underlined, it means that you can't come back, or let's say another generation behind this one can't come back and then sue them again. You know what I'm saying? For that, saying that you affected us, blah 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 blah, because they've not admitted fault.
They've not admitted.
No,
Because
they've
if they
not.
admit fault, that means that then they are liable. Then the question then becomes, how liable are they? Are they liable for this? Is this the cap? Or can somebody else come back, or descendants of come back and say, okay, you know what? Now we want to sue you, even as jusisi atukukula uko. Maybe it was my dad who kulad me, I didn't kula. You understand what I'm saying?
I think if that was the case, then they probably would put a clause. You know, like what they have, double jeopardy.
Yeah. I mean,
Like once it's sorted,
yeah.
they would have a clause. You can't come back
You can't come back and sue.
and sue.
And this is
But you
some
see, the agreement is gonna be with this generation, not with the next generation.
But now
Yeah,
this is where maybe Pablo needs to, you know, like chime in and maybe tell us what exactly this means. But this is the balancing act that sometimes a family has to do, you know, like whereby you're going against, you know, like a whole state, you're going against a whole police department, you're going against
Sheriffs, whatever,
you're going against
hospital,
sheriffs,
whatever.
So at some point, you know, like you do have to make judgment. And I think civil rights attorney Ben Crump was part of this civil case, and he's very experienced in this. So I'm sure, you know, like he read between the lines, you know, like he read, you know, on all the I's. He made sure all the I's were dotted and all the T's were crossed.
I would hope.
Yeah. So
I would hope. I just think, like with Omosh saying, I just believe that I think there would have been more. And by that I mean, because I'm looking at what Pablo is saying over here, right? Like,
There may still be more.
like the payout was 8.3. Family got 5. You know,
5
after
5.05.
5. Yeah, after funeral expenses. I think
and the attorney
and
fees.
the
Attorney's
attorney
taking
fees.
Yeah, attorney took about 3
meter.
about 3 meter.
okay, wow.
Yeah.
So
3
I
point
think
something.
on this one, and this is from me on having watched Law and Order and some other movies or whatever.
On the layman side.
On the layman side,
Yeah.
is why not have the farmer gets the 8.5, then the same guys settle lawyers' fees and any other outstanding balance
So
or
I
whatever.
think a lot of these details are usually reached in this settlement.
Yeah, in that
Yes.
settlement. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something
that's
that
what I'm saying.
that's something they sat down and they decided on, right? And maybe this is and think about it with all the past cases that we have seen, you know, from say George Floyd time, you know, and some of the other ones, the settlements never came this quick.
Yeah, this is
and
less
this is-
than 6 months.
and this is what Lawrence is saying.
This is unprecedented.
Yeah.
But it could also be that maybe those are the chaps are like, "Apana, as we want our 100 million."
And you know,
You
so,
know,
so these are the details
we don't
where which we don't know.
If you read Lawrence's comment,
Yes.
he's sort of agreeing with And you, in terms of it being rushed.
Yes.
The decision being rushed.
Yeah, and I think we'd also love to hear from Mika. I don't know whether Mika is already, available listening to us. It would be good to chime in because Mika actually lives around that area, and he's familiar with those jurisdictions. Because when they talk about those jurisdictions, they're very confusing. There's Richmond, Virginia. There's Henrico County. There's Dinwiddie County. So there's so many jurisdictions that were involved in this because of where he was picked up, where he was taken, the police who came in, and all that. So yeah, so if Mika is available, Mika, please.
River Road School of Law. Mutajua mujui sre.
Okay.
You know what? I think we should. Is there any way we can remove slave from the nini?
Kirinyaga Road campus.
Mika Och.
This
Mika
Mika.
Och, all the way from Richmond.
Na yeye ndio mtu wa statement za nini? River Road. Aongea sahi.
No, Mika. Well, I mean, you live in that area. You're familiar with the dynamics of
the cops
within that area, because there are so many jurisdictions, involved. Was a bit confusing. I've gone to the area, but then you hear Richmond being mentioned, you hear Henrico being mentioned, you hear Dinwiddie County being mentioned, so it's very confusing. But what is the mood actually out there, in as far as this settlement, and what do you think so far, from what you've had, Mika?
I guess the mood is still the same, like how it was earlier on when this happened, that it should not have happened at all. And especially how it all got to come through with the neighbor calling the cops, and then from there the cops taking him, and we all know what followed up. So the ruling is, just as we are having a discussion over here, it's just the same way, even when you listen to the local news and people commenting about it and talking about it, is that they're asking the same question. Why was it rushed? Is it really enough? Can they say that the family got, they feel like is the amount enough for the family? Did the family really, is it elevating anything for the family from what they suffer through the loss of Avo? Like it's one of those things which is being looked at very keenly in terms of local politics, and especially since elections. The local districts in those areas, the elections are right up the corner. Actually, early voting is starting. I think it started this day.
Yeah, so Virginia has a gubernatorial election this
year in November. Wow.
It's something that, and I think that is the reason why also, the Republican governor who surprisingly won, but he was expected to win, doesn't have a lot of control in the state Senate and the state Congress. So this is one of the things that will play a very major role in this coming election. And that is why you see also the approval of the settlement and why it's being rushed. So it's something that still is a very hot topic around here.
Wow.
But I'm sure now all eyes are going to be turning to the criminal cases. How are you going to do them? How are you going to rush them as you've rushed this civil case? How the trying of those cases, how it's going to happen. So it's quite unfortunate that this incident that happened to Avo is being used as a political tool, but it's also being used as a way of trying to bring in reform on how the police happens around here. As most people know, Virginia police are a little bit heavy-handed.
With black people or everybody?
Everybody, but
Mika, you're going in and out.
Mika, unakuja ukienda.
You've not bought the new iPhone.
Ongeza bundles.
Okay, we're gonna try to get back to
Yeah,
Mika.
Mika amekuja akienda. I think his bundles are over. We'll need
No,
to.
no, I think his neighbors caught up with him. He's been stealing the neighbors.
Oh.
Hey,
Wi-Fi.
Ali, sorry.
Okay.
My AirPod died on me.
Okay. So now we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Unaona? I told you.
Yeah,
this.
so I was saying, yeah, Virginia police are very bit heavy-handed. That is something that they no, they don't for. But it's just like, and you'll always hear, like, I live in Chesterfield County, and you'll hear people call it Arresterfield County. They say that police over here just arrest people for nothing. It's called Arresterfield. But then Henrico is called Henrico, like, because of the police. So it's just a thing that people joke around it, but they are known to be that. And this is one of those situations that are leading to a lot of conversation about the policing of the area, not only just around the Richmond area, but it's around the whole state, to try
Okay.
to see if they can make the police over here stop being that heavy-handed, and especially with it being in the south, and not really in the south, but the tip of the south, which has a little bit of a lot of influence on the northern side of Virginia from what we call the East Coast. So it's a tricky political situation right now, but hopefully the death of Abo can be one of the kickstarter of not only just improvement on policing, but also on how they handle calls when you're responding to people who are suffering through a mental health crisis. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, thank you so much, Mika. That was a very good update from Mika, someone who's actually out there, very close to where this incident happened. And Tabitha and Jerry here, karibu sana. Tabitha is asking, in comparison to what was the George Floyd settlement amount or other similar ones. So I think, Tabitha is just asking that question, and I'm not sure how much George Floyd settled for.
No, I haven't. Hiyo research hatukufanya. Tulikuwa tumeingia hapa KBC, but we'll go to CNN and see what CNN is saying.
Yes, and then also Lawrence Kihanya is saying also, is it me or is in 3 million for the attorneys a little bit over the top considering the nature of the case? Now, having some familiarity with not necessarily with civil cases, with certain civil cases, I can tell you that typically around 30%, that's usually
Correct.
a pretty standard fee
Yep.
that the lawyers pick up. And it's easy to judge, and say, like part of the reason why sometimes lawyers offer to take these cases for free is that they know, like at the tail end of it, there's a big payday, like associated with it. And I think, I'm just seeing here that the George Floyd family agrees to a $27 million settlement amidst ex-cops trial. So you can see, and remember, the George Floyd case was so big. It was so big, it had national attention. This one did for a bit. It did not have quite the attention that George Floyd's case had. So I think, this is something that the lawyers factor in, because if you negotiate in the wrong way, you may end up not getting anything. And I think that's going to be, very bad. And I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the One Mic Show, and I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. We've been talking about the latest from the case of a Kenyan who was killed by police near Richmond, Virginia. Now, later in the show, we'll be talking about financial responsibility in a marriage. And the question of the day is, are you responsible for your spouse's family financially, your spouse's family's financial needs? I want you to go in the comments and start telling us what you think. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to get to that shortly. But before we continue, I want to remind the listeners that DJ Sunny Sistuki is going to be in Kilimanjaro Studios live next week. So prepare your questions, mark your calendar. This will be one of the first big interviews that DJ Sunny Sistuki does, and we're going to reveal who he is. So stay tuned. Before we continue, I want to come back to Mika. There's been so much that has been taking part in sports this week, from our rugby team qualifying, the Shujaa Sevens team qualifying for the Olympics. We also have the World Cup rugby going on. And a couple of other things that we're going to keep talking about later on in the show. But Mika, please tell us, like what's been happening in the world of sports, in the world of rugby. Mika.
So what's happening in the world of rugby? Actually, the most important news is that Kenya last weekend qualified for the Olympics, and they qualified by virtue of winning the African Sevens Championship, and they defeated the favorite South Africa. So Kenyans have qualified for the Olympics, and the Kenyan ladies team, the Lionesses, are playing to qualify this weekend, and also they're playing for the same championship, but now for the ladies version. So that's another one to watch out for. And also in the Rugby World Cup, there was some historic scores that happened. I think even when Mike is laughing because of it, but
What?
yeah, it's let's just say the favorite and champions, the favorite to win the title and the hosts, France, did record a 96-0 win against Namibia
Painful.
yesterday. So yeah, so that, and among other stories, and also another thing is the goat. The goat is running this weekend. The goat is running this weekend and is running
Who be that?
his
Who be
favorite.
that?
Kenya has many
marathon.
goats, so which goat is
Who
running
be that?
this week?
Who be that? I think there's a goat. I think there's a goat. I think there's a goatess.
There's only one. There's only one. Kipchoge Keino. Kipchoge is running. Eliud Kipchoge is running this weekend at the Berlin Marathon. The Berlin Marathon, as many have remembered, is where he broke both his world records. And this is going to be an interesting race because his pacemaker, who helped him for in running
159.
the lowest time in a marathon, is actually running right now as a competitor, not as a pacemaker.
Okay,
So it's, we're going to talk more about that today.
okay, so he's going out to try and break a world record, likely.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that will be interesting. And also not forgetting, like our guest last week, Omanyala, he finished third.
No, it was second, boss. How did he become third?
Well,
His time was second. He was tied with Nani.
with Noah Lyles.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was tied. I mean, I'm
rankings.
trying to understand where the third is because the time is the time, right?
Yeah.
The time hasn't changed.
So it's supposed to be tied for second.
Lakini pengine I think Mika can give us this technicality when we fika hapo.
Okay, Mika, did you watch that race? Omanyala.
Yeah,
Lyles?
the reason Lyles was given the time is because Lyles leaned forward first.
Okay, but I think like that was quite a good show from Omanyala, and I think he's out of all those runners. I feel like he will be the most improved by the time the Olympic Games comes. So it will not be a surprise to see a gold medal coming from Omanyala.
I feel, and people might slap me around silly. He may need to change his coach.
Wow, that is okay. That is a bit extreme. What's your process? What's your thought process?
This is left field.
To me, his coach is good, but you need
Coach
someone.
Omoy.
You need someone to take you there, and that somebody to take you there may not be his coach.
Okay, so
I'm still waiting.
Okay.
I'm still processing.
Coach Omosh. That's Coach Omosh.
I'm just saying, like the way Mike Friday took Kenya team to the next level.
And then
Omosh. There's a famous sports saying that says you don't change a winning team.
No. I'm just
When it's
again,
winning, you don't change
skiza. Mimi ni mtu wa nje. I'm not a sportsman in any way.
Maoni ya Omosh.
I'm not a
Yeah, yako ni
sportsman
maoni.
in any correct, exactly. So, but mimi naangalia tu kutoka nje.
Why?
Now-
Okay, so why change the coach? This I'm trying to process.
Because for me, when I look at
Kwa sababu ni jamaa wa Chelsea amezoea kufuta makochi.
and talking about
how did we even come from
Omanyala to EPL.
Hapana, ule goli yao anaitwa
Onana.
how did it come from there?
Oh,
No,
sorry.
No,
How did we come from there to Chelsea?
No, but talking about Omanyala to Onana, I think your example is the same debate.
I'm still trying to
No,
process him
no.
changing the coach
No,
because
but-
I don't
but
see
I think-
what the coach has done wrong.
But I think
so far.
but I think it's the same debate, like we Arsenal fans who are winning and are having right now, where our coach has changed a goalkeeper at the start of a season, and it looks like he's changed Ramsdale to Raya, and it looks like it's a permanent replacement. So according
Not
to
it looks like it is.
according to Thierry Henry, now Arteta has not said that, but it does look like it has
It
everything
is,
showing
it is.
it's a permanent
If you
replacement.
And
watch-
that goes back to what Mika was
Yeah,
saying.
and-
If you
and-
use that
and-
adage,
and-
right?
and-
Because the guy so far has a streak. So why change it?
But
Right?
you see
Yes.
what Henry was
No,
saying.
he
what-
changed it. He changed it because Raya makes Arsenal play better. And if you saw if you go watch the Arsenal games that Ramsdale has played, every time they're playing from the back or the ball falls back, he's not comfortable with the ball on his feet. But when Raya plays
Okay.
and he moves forward, and when he moves forward, he gives Arsenal an extra man. That is the same thing that Manchester United wanted to achieve when they were getting Onana, to get a goalkeeper who moves forward and becomes an extra player. So for Raya, it has already picked up. So he makes Arsenal better than Ramsdale is.
Because that's what Martinez was doing before.
Raya is better than Martinez.
Yes,
Forget
yes,
Martinez.
and-
no,
Martinez
before-
can't even play.
and now
No.
what caught my attention?
Martinez was not good. Ramsdale improved Arsenal from how Martinez made them
No,
play.
no,
But then Raya is a better improved. No, Uno, your example is wrong. No, anyone who Arsenal.
No, I,
Let
me finish.
Can
Hold
we
on,
go
hold
to
on,
sports
hold
to
on.
Chambua it from
Yeah.
sports?
hold on. Let me finish, Mika. Hold on. Let me finish. The reason I'm saying Martinez was better. Martinez was better than Ramsdale playing from the back.
But when you
That's what
listen-
I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that whatever.
No, I hear you. But going by what Thierry Henry said, which is what caught my attention, because I'm one of those who thought that maybe Arteta is just testing out two different goalkeepers.
No,
but when
he's
I
not.
had what Henry said, he talked about like the previous Arsenal goalkeepers, and then Ramsdale was brought as a replacement to get Arsenal into the top four, which he did. But now Arteta is looking towards winning the Premier League and possibly winning the Champions League.
Right.
And that's why he got
Raya.
Raya.
And that's what I'm saying. He makes Arsenal better as
Okay.
a team, how they play. That the mere fact that he provides another outlet. It's like instead of having 10 players on the ball, you have 11 players on the ball every time.
Okay.
So you have you're one man over the other person, which creates space. Football these days is about space.
All right. Okay, sawa. And from sports, I think we want to
Watu
quickly go
tutaonana
to
Saya Sports.
yeah, but we want to quickly go to something slightly different. But remember, we are still going to be talking about financial responsibility in marriage. Question of the day, remember, is: are you responsible for your spouse's family financially? Are you responsible for your spouse's financial needs for his or her family? So we're going to be talking about that shortly. But before we do that, there's a short clip I want you guys to listen to. Listen to this clip carefully. It's about a minute long, and then I want you guys to start typing and tell us what you think about what you're gonna hear. So just give me one moment. I'm gonna get this going here. Here we go.
And so on. But something amazing happened just about, goodness, maybe 4 weeks ago or so. The First Lady of Kenya flew from Nairobi with her team, just for one reason, to ask me to come back to Nairobi for a nationwide, government-sponsored crusade. Now, we haven't had that in a long time, where the First Lady of a nation comes and says, we want to hold a crusade sponsored and supported by the government. The only time I think we've ever had that was in, where was that, Marie? Indonesia somewhere. Papua. And then same time came with her Robert Ganja from Uganda, and they want to do 2 crusades in each country. So I said, okay, Lord, you still have a little more for me.
All right. Okay. So you heard that.
How they play. The mere fact that he provides. It's like instead of having 10.
The only time. So I said, okay, Lord, you still have a little more for me.
Okay. All right. I think. Yeah. Sorry about that. But you guys heard the clip. What do you guys think? That was Pastor Benny Hinn acknowledging or saying that the Kenyan First Lady a couple of weeks ago traveled to the United States with her team, specifically to invite him for a crusade in different parts of Kenya. You know, like, because he said across the country, and this, of course, was before. Because remember, last week the president and his entourage were here, so it seems like the First Lady came before that with her team. And this is just this was quite shocking and very surprising to me. I don't think Benny Hinn was supposed to say this in public, but he did, and the information is out there. And I can see Slay here is saying this should have been communicated via email or calls. What was the purpose of flying across the country? I think the First Lady owes Kenyans an explanation, because we're in a situation where there's an issue with cash flow, with revenues, countries in a lot of debt. So I think we are owed an explanation. And then Amina Holmes says that's interesting, especially that Kenya is a multi-religion country. I did not even want to, that's something that I did not even want to talk about. I did not want to mention that. But this is quite shocking. Almost fire. Is there
Yes, sir.
something that I'm missing?
Yeah, you're missing a lot of things.
Tell me what I'm missing.
E-government, see mama yako na baba yako. Period. They do what they want, how they do it, and what they want to do when they want to do it. And they didn't start yesterday. This stuff started when this guy was in UK's government as a deputy president. Remember the whole travel saga with the planes? When they he was leasing a plane and UK's plane had been purchased.
Yes.
And everybody was up in arms about the plane.
Or the hustler jets.
And they kept going on and kept doing what they needed to do. But when you go back even now and you look at the amount of money that has been spent in this government for travel-related things, per diem, so on and so forth, that amount of money is staggering. Can somebody really justify that amount of money being spent on travel and other types of things?
Well, Pablo seems to disagree with you, and he says, I thought Benny Hinn was acknowledging an invite by the First Lady.
Nothing.
Too much reading. No, let's listen to what Pablo has to say. Remember, Pablo just met the president last week. And you need to tell us.
Was he given a brown envelope?
I don't know about that. Pablo, you need to tell us. But Pablo says, I thought Benny Hinn was acknowledging an invite.
No, what thought him? See, the guy already said.
Wait a second. Let's listen to what Pablo is saying.
My bad.
I thought Benny Hinn was acknowledging an invite by the First Lady. Too much reading into this, in my opinion. Unless we hear otherwise, what was the number of her team or entourage? Okay, so Pablo here.
Wow.
Let's just go by. I don't know whether we should replay it again.
Let's replay it.
Let's replay it again, so that we can get like exactly what was said, so that we see if there's an issue. There's no issue with inviting
No, absolutely
Pastor Benny
not.
Hinn. That's not an issue at all. And I think also even here Slay has mentioned that this could have been communicated via email or calls. But let's just go back and listen to this again, so that we make sure that we are getting the right message. And if there's anything we are missing, feel free to drop comments and let us know, because this is quite shocking to me. Let's go ahead.
And so on. But something amazing happened just about, goodness, maybe 4 weeks ago or so. The First Lady of Kenya flew from Nairobi with her team,
Pause.
just for one reason.
Okay, so the First Lady
4 weeks ago, from 4 weeks ago, from this, whatever this.
Yeah, 4 weeks ago, from whenever this was recorded, she flew in with her team. So let's be on the, on the I don't even know that to say devil's advocate, but let's be on the conservative side. Let's say she had a team of 2 people. Let's just assume it was a team of 2 people. So 3 people flew just to send an invite.
Send an invite.
No,
or
no,
to
not to
talk.
send.
No, they
Yeah.
came to
Or
personally.
deliver
Personally.
Personal invite.
to deliver a personal invite.
Ah, yeah.
Let's continue.
Yes.
Asked me to come back to Nairobi for a nationwide, nation government-sponsored crusade.
Okay. Nationwide, government-sponsored crusade.
Ah, yeah.
So this is
Hilo
Benny
mi niko na
Hill
beef
saying.
nayo, hata sikufurahi
Yeah.
hiyo sponsored.
Aye?
So okay, yeah. There's a team.
Yes.
So let's assume it's a small team, 2 people.
2.
And with First Lady, and then with their PDMs, and then for government-sponsored, specifically government-sponsored crusades. But let's continue listening again to what was said.
Now, we haven't had that in a long time where the First Lady of our nation comes and says, we want to hold a crusade sponsored and supported by the government.
Okay, we wanna hold a crusade sponsored and supported by the government. This is Benny Hinn speaking. This is not Ali Badawi. This is not Mika Och. This is not One Mike. This is not DJ Moshfa. This is Benny Hinn speaking. Sponsored by the government. Crusades. Okay, let's continue.
The only time I think we've ever had that was in, where was that, Muri? Indonesia somewhere. Papua. And then same time came with her Robert Gainja from Uganda, and they want to do 2 crusades in each country. So I said, okay, Lord, you still have a little more for me.
All right, that was it. So a couple of things I picked up. What was said, so that we see. Yeah, no, sorry, that was me. Government sponsored. First of all, there was traveling with her team, money, and here we generally know how these government teams travel. We know definitely it was not a team of 2 people, but we're just being on the conservative
So far,
side.
they've spent 20 billion Kenya shillings on travel so far.
So there's that. There's a travel, including like per diem of the people who've traveled.
Can Pablo call in?
And then and then you see there's these things are these crusades are government sponsored, and not only are they government sponsored, they're gonna be nationwide. So nationwide, I'm assuming it's gonna be in a couple of counties. So let's assume
Cities at the minimum.
The
we
major
have,
cities.
we have 4 cities in Kenya.
So let's say
it's
4 or
gonna
5
be.
cities.
It should be in all 4.
yes.
Let's assume.
Let's say 4 or 5 cities. And yes, we don't want to politicize this, but this right here is very problematic, and I just love to know.
Na unga ni pesa ngapi?
I just love to know, like what the reasoning is behind this. And the other fact that I'm glad I'm not the one who's mentioning this, because mi wanaambiwa mara nyingi na watetea Waislamu sana. But Kenya is, there's not only Muslims, there's people who profess other religions, and there's also, like people who practice traditional religion. And we're talking over 30% of the country. And here we have the government at a time when there's issues with spending, there's issues with debt, that this is happening. I think we have a big problem.
These guys are acting like we don't have debt, and that the shilling is not getting weaker against the dollar, and they are spending it faster than the exchange rate.
Wow, and that's why, to me, I'd love to hear from Pablo what exactly it is that we're missing, because I think
maybe
there's something
Pablo
we're
has
missing.
reheard. Did he send a comment? And we should not make. Maybe I'm picking on him, but I because I heard.
Nyinyi watu wa UDA.
Oh, sorry.
No, but I'm trying to think, Mick. I'm trying to think
But
from
this should
an
not
UDA perspective.
This should not even be an UDA thing. It's very simple. The guy who was the person they came to see said they came to see me. They flew. They asked me to come, and they said that it's sponsored.
Stop trying to define ama kuela. It's quite clear. And there's two options. The people who will be happy with the invite that was sent out, and the people who would look at it and say the government is wasting money. So those who are still happy are happy about it. They feel like the country needs prayers, and how the first lady contributes to helping her husband run the country is by getting prayers. You have to.
But do you have to jump in a plane and come in here at a cost of a minimum?
You forget even jumping in a plane. Even
$20,000 per person.
Let's say you sent an email to one of the most expensive pastors in the world, and you tell them you want to bring them to the country to sponsor a crusade. So when you bring them to the country, he's not coming alone. He travels with a team that he works with.
Yes.
Right? So you're going to pay for that team.
Correct.
And for every crusade you're going to be paying for it. So basically, what are you bringing that pastor to do? To pray for the economy, to pray for the price of fuel? Or do what? Or to turn every Kenyan from being a sinner? And it doesn't make sense at all.
They are praying for spiritual well-being of people in the country.
What about Muslims?
Wealth. No, they're praying for everybody. When you pray for you don't. Even a Muslim, when what do they call the sheikh? When the sheikh is praying, he's not praying. When they do a prayer for the country, it's for the country. It doesn't matter about religion.
Yes, we do. The only thing, the only thing that maybe we don't have the capacity to do is to get, like Mufti Menk and his entourage to come to Kenya on the government's dime. Mm-hmm. And I wish maybe a Muslim would have done this, and I wonder if Pablo would be having the same. If we had a Muslim president, gathered Mufti Menk, Sheikh Yasir Qadhi, with an entourage of like 20 people, sent, like someone to wherever they are, invite them, and then bring them back. I wonder whether Pablo would have this same
He would be up in arms.
That he has right now. And this is where sometimes I tell people in Kenya, we have to make a decision, like whether we are a multi-demographic country, whether we are a multi-religious country, or whether we are a Christian country. We have to make a decision. And even as Christians in Kenya, I think you also at a personal level have to make a decision whether you want to also acknowledge that this is a country that has a significant non-Christian population.
I am in agreement. We
are happy. We are happy with prayers. We're happy with prayers, and we have them in abundance. But when we start using, like a big chunk of government resources to bring people from other countries, or or religious leaders from other countries, I would be, if this was Sheikh Yasir Qadhi or Mufti Menk being brought by a Kenyan Muslim president, I would have a problem with that.
So here's my question for you, Ali, or if anybody knows in the chat as to our listeners. For instance, the Pope, when the Pope came to Kenya, was the government paying, or was that paid for by the Vatican, or was paid for by the Catholic Church?
That I don't know.
Catholic Church
seems to know. The Catholic Church foots that bill.
Okay. So, with that said, we have we're saying we now want to sponsor a state crusade, a nationwide. What was it called? They had a name for it.
Nationwide crusade.
Nationwide
prayer
crusade.
service.
No, it's a nationwide crusade, but paid for by the government.
Sponsored by the government.
Sponsored by the government. Mm-hmm. So then, does that mean that in the next one they'll bring in a Muslim cleric, or are they going to bring in
Buddhist,
or even a
Hindu,
or even a Rastafarian?
Because we're saying let's just assume that we're now being religious and we want to hit all religions, right? So we're going to bring in everybody, and along the way we'll pay Prophet Awor and the other people while we are Kilifi.
Prophet Awor. Or Shakahola.
Or the Shakahola guy.
Yeah, I'm just saying, because this just seems very naive, if you ask me. If we want to have nationwide prayers, we already have what are those? The Archbishop, that who lives next to State House. Ule waganaito Archbishop for what?
Yes, so there's the Archbishop, there's the Catholic leaders. I don't have their names.
Is he for Anglican? That bishop, that who lives next to State House. What Nani used to be? Cardinal Otunga.
No, Cardinal Otunga wasn't. Cardinal Otunga was Catholic. Cardinal
Cardinal
Otunga was
Otunga was
Catholic.
was a cardinal. That's why it's called Cardinal
Okay,
Otunga.
but wasn't
He
he?
was Catholic.
Well, he was not arch. So who was the Archbishop? No, Manasseh Kuria.
They used to be Manasseh Kuria. They used
yes.
to be Ndingi Mwanawanzeki.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was what religion? Because they literally live next
Those
to
are
State House.
Catholics.
See, they're okay, but I'm just saying, if we already have leaders in the country, why can't we say we're going to have a nationwide prayer and we're going to take all these religious leaders from every nini, our government will sponsor them, including
we've had
Muslims,
those.
why they from state to state?
And we've had those.
Or should I say from
we've had those
county to
before.
county to county?
Because the first lady doesn't want them. She wants Benny Hinn.
Okay.
So here's where this is my challenge to the
Nimeshidwa.
to the Christian clerical leadership in Kenya. This is the point. As leaders, you really have to call the first lady.
You come out with guns blazing.
Yeah,
Hey.
and even not publicly. You have to call her and just talk to her. Not even necessarily, not even guns blazing. Just talk to her, because I personally feel.
Lakini Ali, how can they do that?
No. You see, the thing is, I personally feel First Lady right now, she's living in a bubble. I think she strongly believes that there's support, like across the board, because I know a lot of people even who are in support of the president who are looking at this and they're like, okay, what exactly is going on here? And I think this was supposed to be done chini ya maji, but unfortunately God works in mysterious ways.
Benny Hinn,
and Benny Hinn, he revealed in a 1-minute video, he revealed everything. And I think it was good because he has absolved himself of any guilt. Yeah, ameitwa. Mika.
What I'm trying to say is this: when you say that the Christian clerics to call out the first lady or to talk to her, how can they? And they were the first people to go to State House to receive money when this government got into power.
I hear you, Mika. I hear you. Basically,
so basically, the thing is this: the Ruto bought politicians. The wife and Gachagwa's wife bought the church.
Wow. I think we're in trouble as a country. Our debt situation right now, where we are almost paying, I believe it's close to 80 shillings to every 100 shillings of revenue that we are getting. Around 80 bob is going towards paying debt.
Paying the debt. And that's because of exchange rate.
Yes,
right?
because of the exchange rate, the debt is ballooning, because the shilling has fallen against the dollar, so that
and
dollar
is it also that our payments are due? Those balloon payments.
Yes, those payments are coming due. So think about yourself where Kenya is right now. Think of yourself as someone who has credit card debt, and there's that debt that's coming due. Easy minimum payments may accrue. Now you have very big payments that are coming due. You're finding that out of every $100,000 that you earn every year, $80,000 has to go towards paying credit card debt. So you only have $20,000 left to spend for rent, food, and everything else. But at the same time, you're still swiping new credit cards so that you can buy more things. And that $80,000 debt that you have is growing and is going to now become more than how much you earn. That's a situation Kenya is in, and this is what we're doing. I am a bit worried. I
think there's so much that is going on right now that is worrying. You have the likes of like a whole cabinet guy by the name of Moses Kuria.
That's a whole other
with certain utterances, saying ati hamna kitu. This is a government who's supposed to be trying to either put a stopgap,
to soften,
find ways to alleviate, to reduce the pressure, right? And all he does is just go and talk, because those guys, they didn't buy, they're using government funded cars, fuel, lunch, per diem, whatever it is coming from the taxpayer. Whatever it is.
Somewhere along the line, it seems like he doesn't get it.
Hata zile pesa tunatuma huko, tunatuma wave ama tap, whatever, that money is fuel. That's what it's going to fund, because, like mtu hana pesa. Because I was talking to like my kuzo the other day. He was telling me like a relative of his on the wife's side. Breweries wase wameachisha watu job.
Layoffs
Oh,
are happening.
And
everywhere.
the layoffs-
guys are being laid off
and
every
part of
day.
and part of the reason
Every day.
people are being laid off is because of what? The building fund. Because even
Yes.
those
Or,
guys,
or it kicked in already.
oh yes,
the building fund, because the employers have to
they have
pay
to
part
chip in.
of
But
it.
I
whether
thought-
you're a casual
that-
laborer
the
or
case-
not.
Wasn't there a case in court, or that was thrown out?
No, the case, I think, like the currently the courts have allowed, I think the case might still
until
be
it's
progressing
being
until
heard,
it's adjudicated.
until it's adjudicated.
Status quo maintains.
Yes. Aye.
Yeah, status
still
quo
going.
maintains.
No,
So-
but see, watu wameanza kukatu already.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
yeah,
what
no,
we're saying.
yeah, Mika, we're all saying the same thing. I
Yeah.
thought that there was a, what was it called, a temporary hold at least until it's
No.
adjudicated.
No, they tried to
I-
apply for that, but
The
the
court came and said
yeah,
no.
status quo.
Proceed.
Status quo proceeds.
which
so
sucks.
now even casual
Na
laborers,
NHIF pia
Like even-
waliongeza or they are forcing.
No, they're,
Alafu,
they're trying
you
to
know
make
what
changes to that
happened
too.
is that
Mika.
what happened is that the government gave civil servants and or basically anybody who was being paid by the government, they were given subsidies so that they were added mshahara for whatever amount that is being deducted from you. They were added that so they couldn't feel it in their pay. But now that kanini is supposed to go also. So it wasn't permanent. It was just for them to get used to being deducted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
So, a couple of comments here, but go ahead and then
yeah,
I'm gonna
you read the
some
comments. So
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. That there's so much going on, and those guys are not going to feel the pinch. Moses Kuri is not going to feel the pinch. If you guys recall the interview that he had with Akina Sam, and talking about trying to tell people are trying to tell him that the price of mafuta has gone up. He's
Yeah.
saying, no, he's not even
Cooking oil.
Cooking
It was
oil.
the price of cooking oil. Yeah.
It has gone up. He's like, he didn't even have
and they had a
numbers.
reporter in a supermarket.
They sent a reporter, and not even in Nairobi.
That was so funny. Yeah.
I think it was somewhere in
It was
Western
in,
Kenya.
I think it was in LD. I
LD
think it might have
somewhere in
been
Eldoret, yeah? Then the idiot is saying, to take somebody to Ruiru.
You're going to go to a supermarket
In
in
Ruiru.
Ruiru. And I'm like,
But
okay.
the difference being what?
That exactly. You
So
know.
these are the type of leaders that are supposed to be working on trying to soften, to alleviate, to soften, to help, right? To help. Ngata sasa is over 200 shillings, correct?
Yes. Sijui ni
A-
240.
hata mafuta ya taa.
So
Mafuta ya taa pia
every-
Yeah,
I think
it's
imecross
like
200.
240 to 30,
Everything-
something like that.
And consequently, everything goes up.
Kerosene went up by what? 33
Transport
shilling?
goes up. Transportation of food goes up, which means that food is also gonna go up. Ali,
Yeah,
Ali, you know
you
that you're an
forgot the-
economist. So everything.
Go ahead, Mika.
No, I'm saying as owner is counting, everything is going up. Don't forget to add the diasporans are being targeted by that fund. What was it?
Bank,
Was it an emergency fund for diaspora? Or
Yeah. There's a fund. There's a fund they wanna
But
get
if
diasporans to
if
pay for a scheme
you-
in case a diaspora.
oh,
is
that
in
one.
distress.
There's that one.
Yeah.
In case you what? In case
Yeah.
you...
No,
in case
like-
you're in distress.
Oh.
and you
There's
want
a
to be-
distress.
Yeah.
And also, like,
But
if
you can
if
also
get
join
a-
the housing one if you want.
if you get a jobo
Mhm.
and you're going to, like, if I guess Middle East or whatever, because I think it still has to be ironed out. That you have to
Register.
you're
You have
going
to
to be,
register.
not only do you have to register, but you have to put into it.
Yeah, you have to.
So umepata
contribute
job,
to it.
when if you're a Kemboi, umeenda kufanya kazi huko, however much money you make or whatever it is, you have to put into that fund.
Okay, let's read
Anyway,
a couple
sorry,
of
the comments.
here.
So-
There were so many comments that were coming while we're talking about this story for First Lady, paying for Benny Hinn, or rather the government of Kenya sponsoring Benny Hinn to come do crusades in Kenya. Now, Slay Odwar talking to Amina Holmes here. She's saying, why was a well-known imam not called, or a Buddhist? People have a right to choose their religion. And then Afro-Jamaican says they're going to make money. Who will benefit? People are hungry. I just don't think this is where money is to be spent. There is no return on investment. Welcome to Kenya, Afro-Jamaican. You're now one of us. And then Washeke says, is this really the best use of public funds when Kenya is mortgaged to its eyeballs? Amina Holmes, it should never be government-sponsored. Afro-Jamaican, is that allowed in the Constitution? Very good question. And then Pablo says, Mambo ni matatu. Pablo seems to be enjoying this. But Pablo, however, says Those crusades will be full of Kenyans. I dare them to boycott the crusades. Pablo again seems to be enjoying this.
Oh.
And then Afro-Jamaican.
If you make the things free and tell Jamas to come to Kasarani,
Yeah.
and it's free and you transport them.
Afro-Jamaican says it's like praying for a concert event. And then Pablo says, I'm otherwise opposed to the use of state resources for the crusades. Not so much about Christians versus Muslims, but it would be wrong to use state resources for those crusades. Okay. And then we see Afro-Jamaican again saying there would be an international outrage.
Yeah, man. Wagwan brethren.
All right. And then Slay says using government resources is a no, even for her traveling there to approach Benihin. And then Washeke here was telling us that the Catholic Church foots the bill when the Pope visits. So that's good. And then let me see here what Pablo is saying. I'm in no way defending because it is Christian doing so. I would still say the same for a Muslim. Bottom line, can't use state resources. What I would wish for the First Lady and her people to come out is clarify on the use of state resources to invite Benihin and also use state resources to hold the crusades. I'm just not forecasting aspersions if I do not have all the details. Now, here so far, First Lady has not spoken, has not disputed anything that Benihin.
Why would
has
Benihin
said.
come out and say it?
Yeah.
And then even call out the UG chaps because
yes.
it's almost like they were doing what was it called?
A collabo.
A collabo, where they're like, okay, you come, you get a 2-for-1, utakula hapa na utakula kule.
But let's assume, like I understand where Pablo is coming from because I'm also one person who likes verifying. So
Hapa kuna verification. Si Benihin amesema.
No, Benihin.
Ama is a liar.
No, let's say Benihin has thrown an allegation. For as long as there is no response, after some time, this becomes the truth. And I don't see any reason he would have to, first of all, to come. I don't see why Benihin would come to Kenya, foot the bill out of his own pocket.
He's saved, he's sanctified,
he doesn't do that.
and speaks to the Holy Ghost. He cannot
he doesn't do stuff for free. He doesn't do stuff for free.
No, it's not for free. Yes.
Yes. So someone
when those
is paying.
jamas come, remember kina nani, kina Reinhard Bonke?
Yes.
Unakumbuka?
Maurice Cerudo.
Boss.
Na wakumbuka wote.
Uhuru Park na sijui
Na Nyayo Stadium,
Boss.
na Stadium, sijui ni gani.
Jesus.
City Stadium. na
Jesus.
zote.
And then Afro-Jamaican says, in Jamaica, we have a national prayer breakfast, lunch, dinner, and nightcap. We have the most churches per square mile in the world, and it does not help. It's just a waste of money. Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that about Jamaica.
But we also have the national prayer. And you know why
Unajua
Go ahead.
mkiambiwa Benihin anakuja mtaambiwa budget ni 2 billion.
yes,
Na labda
na
ni
mchote.
1 billion.
Yes.
Alafu bilioni moja unajua inaenda.
Na kuna
Inaingia
fund.
The thing
mfukoni.
is, let me say something. So, when you say that you are the kind of person who wants to hear both sides of the story before you come out and make up a discussion, it's just an excuse or lack of accountability in agreeing or trying to make an excuse for what you support. The thing is this person has already come out and said that the government invited us for government sports that could say that is enough for Kenyans to start asking questions. If Kenyans were supposed to be waiting to hear both sides of a story when something came out, then there were a lot of things that would have gotten away, because while you're waiting for the second partner to come and confirm it, these things are in process and they're moving on. So when it happens, it's already happened. We are supposed to start holding people accountable immediately we hear something that you don't agree on. So as those who are waiting to hear the second side or the confirmation from the First Lady so they can make a confirmed decision on how they want, decide whether they want to say this is wrong or this is not wrong. This is how things get. Basically, this is how things happen. It's just the same way, like when it's like us saying that a politician stole, or maybe Ali or Mika stole from Omosh. And then you say, I'm waiting for Omosh to come and confirm that Mika stole from Omosh. And by the time Mika done stealing that money from Omosh and left, and
spent
by the
it.
time Omosh imeisha.
Imeenda hiyo.
Imeenda.
Omosh hana kitu, imeenda. So honestly, Kenyans have a right to ask questions about this, because the guy came out, he's the other half.
Yeah.
He's the guy
That's
getting the
more than
contract.
enough.
He's the one who's getting
this was a
paid,
story-
right?
Yeah, if this just came from Sijui a media personality ama imetoka kwa
or a loose one Michael saying it at your
or a loose one Michael saying it kwa bash tu ati last tulikuwa sijui wapi tukaona hivi, then yes, you want to hear both sides of the stories. But when
Yes.
the other half of that story comes out and says it,
in a public forum,
I am the
not
person.
in private.
I am the person who was met, not at its hearsay.
No.
I am the person who was
Not
met.
I was called or
and,
texted
and
or
I was
emailed.
met by person X, who flew in, by the way, and came to me and told me, "Boss, tokelezea."
And there's no way she's flying economy. Let's start there.
My
Absolutely.
friend. That's why I said your ticketing ilikuwa how much?
And while
how
they were
20K.
here, while
That's
they were
why
here, there's no way they're staying in Motel 6.
Boss, watu
No,
wanaka
it's
Conrad. Isai New York wanaka wapi? Sini Conrad. Conrad
Ali,
cheki ni pesa ngapi
you know, it's okay when even if she flew here, right? She flew here and she waited and she was until for the husband to come, and so we can say she came and she did other state functions that she was needed to do. So that was part of it. The flying part is not a problem. If she was meant to be out of the country, if she was supposed to come during the time for the UN
Yes.
Unga.
Then
Unga.
went on the side.
yeah, for UNGA,
Yeah.
if she was supposed to come during UNGA, and then she will still have spent money to come. So it's okay. The flying part, I have no problem with that. My issue is those government-funded crusades. That is the issue that I have right now. Her flying with her team, yes, she flew with the team. She probably had other business to do here. That's fine. So me understanding that hidden New fly. The issue is just those crusades. Why? Why is the government funding for crusade?
Wow. Few more comments here. Washeke is saying the cleric in Kenya has no credibility because they sanitize this government and the many corrupt politicians, many of whom have been accused of heinous crimes. And then let me see. Pablo is saying, correct, Ali. If this goes unanswered for some time, then that becomes the truth. And then I see Lawrence Kihanye is saying, is it Kenya a secular state? This sounds illegal based on the setup of our government, but then civil education is lacking in 254, meaning no accountability. And you see here's the deal, because there's been that assumption.
Lawrence is pissed.
Yeah, I know. There's been that assumption
It's a very
for a long
religious
time.
state right now.
Do people want like a Christian country? Because that's what essentially this is. And that's where I think our members of parliament have failed, because I don't know if this has been mentioned in parliament. Maybe I missed, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but this is government spending. Someone should be out there, asking for an explanation from the First Lady, because members of parliament have access to the
You mean opposition? You mean opposition?
No, it's parliament, not just opposition. It is parliament overall. Parliament, you see, let me tell you, if Biden, let me tell you something. If Biden does something, if there's an issue, sometimes even Democrats pop out and ask questions about, and sometimes it's not even an attack, is just come out and explain this expense.
The guy of transport, Buttigieg.
Buttigieg.
Yes.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg.
See, he was in a hearing just the other day.
Yes.
Aliwekwa hapa kwa hapa.
And you
Lakini
see,
Alitoa marisiti.
alikuwa na chapa maslap.
but you see, he was being questioned by Republicans and by Democrats
Yes,
at the same time.
yes.
Because at the end of the day, Parliament, in as much as, yes, there's an opposition side and there's a governing side, but you have to remember Parliament it's an independent branch of government, and it represents the people.
I am
And you're
rolling my
supposed to have
my eyes
Yeah.
at you, Ali.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
well,
rolling
yeah.
my eyes.
No, okay, we know what.
Moment you
No, we know what you want to say.
No, but all we're saying.
No. It's
all-
not about that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. I don't know what you think. But what I'm saying is, currently, right now, with the current, I'm not going to see anyone question
Yeah.
the sitting.
the sitting president.
Yes.
No one is
No one is
going
questioning him. Yeah.
to. And forget even anyone from UDA saying something or coming out to question, right? So now my hope now would be like, okay, on this other side, let me see what opposition watasema. But again, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to question the guy right now as we speak.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case,
Yeah.
we would have had something.
Yeah.
we would have carried. Forget the clip that was that has been chattering, as meandering through WhatsApp and TikTok and whatever, right? But other than that, like a formal launch complaint or whatever, we haven't had.
We haven't had anything
Yes.
so far. Now Pablo is saying
You will not hear even one.
We won't.
yeah, Pablo
but
is
carry
saying
on.
if I can compare last week at San Francisco, Adan Mohammed was introduced as a cabinet secretary. That caught me off because Adan is not a cabinet secretary, but State House hasn't corrected that. So we can speculate something is up or otherwise. These people need to clarify things. I agree with you. And then Afro-Jamaican says, we lost 3 ministers in the last 2 weeks. They resigned. They did something shady and had to resign. I think
The Canadian.
he's talking,
Canada-
he's talking
Canadian.
about he's talking
Canada.
about Canada. Yeah, this happens in Canada. In Kenya, some of these ministers would rather die than resign. You know, like,
Canada,
people don't
there's
resign.
drama right now. Where?
They're fighting with the Indian
with
government. There's so
them and
much
India.
going on there.
Where?
Yeah, but anyway, you know, like this is
And talking about, cabinet on Moses Kuria, Gashagwa today came out and said, I've been hearing that you guys want this chap to be fired. Fire him so he goes where?
now.
That was the question he asked chaps.
Now another thing.
That's your deputy.
Yeah, another thing.
That chap ain't going nowhere.
Of course.
To Jipange.
Another thing I picked up, I don't know whether I can see it here. Another very interesting thing that I picked up, and I'm still yet to get the details of this. There's a Senator Charargei,
sheesh.
was advocating for an increase in presidential term limits, increase the presidential term limit to 7 years. And he said that 5 years is not sufficient for running government, president to go for 2 terms of 7 years each. Let me speculate here. I know Pablo doesn't like speculation. Let me speculate what's happening. This is not the first time people on that Kina Pablo side, UDA, are bringing up this issue of
Term limits.
of term limits now.
Or extension or
previously
whatever.
it was some member of parliament
from Huko,
from Northeastern.
From Northeastern, yes.
yeah, who was advocating
For another term.
for 3 terms,
A whole other term.
Yes.
for a whole other term.
Yes.
Now you have Senator Charargei talking about a 7-year term limit. These things are being done methodically. I don't think these things are random. They are
Nope.
very well choreographed.
Orchestrated, and you're being told how it's gonna go. Namujue
And you
inaenda
know,
kuingia.
and this is a strategy, because you have to remember, in all likelihood, there will very likely be a referendum before the next election. Because remember, there's this dialogue group that has been set up to start ironing out things. The outcome is most likely gonna be a referendum. So what these guys are doing right now, they're testing all these different theories to see which one
Will stick. Ndio waingishe huko ndani.
Now, let me. Sorry, finish.
No,
your
no, no.
thought.
I'm just saying, I have this feeling that President Ruto, and this is my opinion, it's not the opinion of the One Mike Show, it is not the opinion, it's not a fact, but this is just my feeling. President Ruto wants to go more than 10 years, hopefully 20 years, and if he can, even 30 years.
Pula Moi.
And that is possible.
And kumaliza.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Lawrence has been harping and beating that drum.
You mean Baba Hanya?
Babahanya. Because every time, like, man, let me tell you, this guy is going to start. I am telling you, this guy is gonna extend. He's gonna try to find a way to change the constitution so that term limits not only can term limits can be removed. So now it's until, I guess, you die.
Yeah.
Initially when he heard that, and that was like prior, like, hey, you guys, you don't understand, this was going to happen. So guy becomes president, whatever. Then that guy makes that comment. I'm like, okay. He's like, boss, let me tell you,
Once that power
this
has been tasted.
this you watch.
Yes.
And now with you mentioning this, I'm like, Allah.
And I've also noticed something else, how policy is made in this government. And maybe Pablo tell us whether there's something we're not seeing, because it's
But there was
somewhat
Pablo
very
dressed
interesting.
in a counter suit. Oh, sorry, carry on.
I don't think he was in a counter suit, but I
Wow.
think he's purchased one on
Nikkei, man.
on Amazon clothing. But
You guys, I swear.
But I've noticed how policies, and this is something that I thought it was just a one-time thing, but policies right now are being made on top of a car. So the first thing you hear is
So like your roadside declaration.
so the president goes on top of a car
Out of a sun.
and tells
You
something
mean in a sunroof?
in a random shopping center, and say something. Then of course it's broadcast on the media. Then the next thing you see is documents that are circulating, from the government that this is now what we plan to do. So it comes from the top of a car, and then the document is spread. And then I've also noticed another strategy, like for example, they'll come and say, oh, we're going to charge a housing levy. It's going to be 3%. So they're going to take it out and say, oh, it's been through public participation. Kwa vile watu wame complain, let's give them 1.5%. And then now act like we're now acting in favor of the Mwananchi. That's how policy is being made. This is a modernization of Nyayo's roadside declaration. It's just an observation that I've made, and this is just the first year. Hopefully there's something that we are not seeing. There's something that we are missing, and at the end, and I hope there's a tunnel at the end of the dark light. Pun intended.
On YouTube, Near Generational is talking here about the funds, and she was like misappropriation and waste of government time, money, and resources. And talking about the national what is it? The national sponsored prayer with should I say the rogue cleric, or is it evangelist, or is it apostle?
You have decided to bring international prayer warriors.
Yes, to intercede.
Kenya is
to
inapiga
intercede.
transfer kama Chelsea.
Ake Mungu, this guy. Anyway, as I was talking about
international pastors.
as I was talking about Near Generation before, I was rudely interrupted. Oh no, what's your name? Near Generational says, no reincarnation of Daniel Arap Tafadhali.
All right.
Wow.
And then I also have some comments here coming from Facebook. Pablo says today Rigiji defended Moses Kuria.
Correct.
And then Slay says,
Was it really defending, or was he? Really,
No, he was making a comment.
he was making a point.
He basically
because
said this is what it is.
remember these two have been fighting each other the whole week.
So we've
They've been
like
fighting each other
he
the
was
whole
probably
week.
given instructions.
And then there's something that Pablo said up there, that somebody was introduced as a cabinet secretary.
as a
and
cabinet
he's not
secretary,
one.
and is not.
Yes. So true. There might be some infight. No, there might be. There is some infighting in the Mount Uda, Mount part of Uda.
Yeah, and then
And the fights have been between Moses Kuria and Rigiji. So whatever Rigiji said today, don't take it as gospel.
Okay. All right. And then Pablo says, first I want to welcome Brendan Klopp. Brendan Klopp, karibu sana. And then Pablo says, hata mimi hii nakata, no term limit extension. Ruto's time should end at some point regardless and what we think about him. But let's pay attention to what's happening. And then let me see. Afro-Jamaican says we don't have term limits here in Canada, but the party is always stronger than the prime minister. And then Pablo says this is how Kenya will find its way into coups. This should not even be entertained. Right now Russia does not have sights on us, but the point when Russia will have sights on us, we have to be very careful. We see what's happening to other African countries. Let's not think that this cannot happen in Kenya. True. Look at what happened to the northern part of Sudan, a part that we thought was peaceful, but now there's a proxy war going on there.
Yeah.
And then let me see. Pablo anasema hii mimi itabidi I go live kwa studio. I like talking with hands and gestures. You're welcome, Pablo. You're welcome.
We can put him on Zoom right now. What is he saying?
We can put you on Zoom one day. Maybe not today, but we need to have a session with Pablo, a specific episode with him.
He can't wear yellow, sendio?
He can wear whatever he wants.
Okay.
And then Lawrence Kihanya here says 3 Ruto insiders have made this comment since he became president. Bottom line, Ruto will consolidate power by winning enough opposition politicians and will get a majority. Once he gets a majority in parliament, it's a wrap. We're already seeing it, e.g. Jalango, Kanini Kega, Kidero, Sabina Chege, etc. And then is Pablo? No, Pablo is not the one. Afro Jamaican is asking if Pablo is the one who likes Candace. I think he's confusing Pablo and
No, no.
yeah, that's a different person. Don't worry about that, Afro Jamaican. Pablo does not like. Pablo just likes Ruto. He doesn't like
Candace Owens.
Candace. No.
Wow.
I saw that coming. I'm like, Allah?
Or maybe unless Pablo, you tell us. Otherwise, I don't think.
Hapo mnaekelea Pablo.
Yeah.
Pablo si Republican.
Yeah, unasikia Pablo anasema you mean Candace Parker. Candace Parker is a basketball player.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So anyway, we've talked. It's been a while since we talked politics, so it's good kidogo leo tumebanta kidogo. We bantered kidogo in politics, and with next year being an election year in the U.S. And also being a possible referendum year in Kenya, because if a referendum is gonna happen, it's either next year or 2025. I don't think it can go beyond that. So be ready, be prepared, and just know that we're going to be talking a lot of politics. Of course, we have our US political contributor, Millennial Miss Annette, will be here talking to us a lot about
elections are coming up
in
November.
Yeah, November next year. And then remember,
for some places, it's
Virginia has an election. Virginia
coming up
has
November. I know we have some some people being elected.
Yes,
in, different seats.
All right, yeah. So real quick, I know a lot of people have been waiting for the topic on marriage, and if you're a spouse and you're now responsible for your family's for your spouse's family's financial needs. But before we go to that, I just wanted Mika to conclude real quick the part of our Kenya Sevens team qualifying for the Olympics. Just quickly tell us, what exactly, is there any, now that we've qualified for Olympics, is there maybe any backdoor chance that HSBC may look at us and say, Waishe, you guys seem good, just come and play.
Come we stay.
Imeenda.
The only thing that victory gives us is that it gives us, it also put us as a shoe into playing for the qualification. So there are some legs that will have the qualification tournaments that Kenya will be traveling to. Okay. So we have a chance to
get back in.
We win and then we get promoted and another team is relegated. So we have a chance of getting back into the cycle.
Typically, how many teams
that it's
are
happening
relegated?
Pretty soon.
Typically, how many teams are relegated and how many are promoted?
They relegated 3. I think they relegated. Was it 3 or 2? I'm not sure about
They relegated 4 because there are 12 now, and I think there used to be 16.
No. I think there's some invitational teams. It's usually 12. Those other teams, there's some tournaments that have invitational teams.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So what were the? Okay, so then that means that, because remember they had the.
It's 12. Only 12 teams have core status.
Yes, and then yes, and that's the 12 that's in the circuit now. In the circuit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kenya was relegated. They were taken out of it, so they relegated. I think they
relegated. I thought
they're
3.
going to promote 2.
Was it 2? I thought it was 3 because it was up to.
We'll talk more about that during sports. We'll convert more about that during.
Actually, we are in the sports segment. Mika, we've been changing things around. We've been changing things around.
Tuweke sports bila
hiyo drop kuna vile someone dropped the ball.
Okay, ngoja kwanza usikie sports and more sports with Mika.
Sports and more sports in the One Mic Show.
Anyway, let's wrap up the sports segment here today. We're starting off with rugby that Ali ruined how it starts anyway. So Shujaa stunned South Africa Bliss Boke 17-12 in Zimbabwe on Sunday evening to clinch the African Sevens title and claim Africa's sole ticket to the 2024 Olympic Games. So this means that South Africa are not going to the Olympics. This is how big this win was. And the South Africa team that we beat was the South Africa team that is a core team in the IRB series. So in case anybody thought that the team who just played a small tournament and were defeating small team, no, it was actually something which was very big. And And also this is something that is very, very, very good because this is a very young team. This is a team that had a lot of debutants and a young. I think the most experienced player right now is their captain Victor Onyala, and Onyala, who we've been looking at as one of the new guys in the previous teams. So this is a team that holds a lot of promise, and as Ali had said, it gives us a chance to go back to the HSBC sevens, and allows us to play for qualification, and having performed so well, having played a tournament that was so flawless, it gives hope, and which brings me back to you. So wewe umoshi ndo ulikuwa unaongea kwanza, it gives us hope in going back into qualifications for the into the core status. Do you see this team qualifying and going back to the core status?
I see the team going back if they get the correct guidance and help from the union. Without that, I don't see it happening.
You know, Mika, the reason why I have confidence in Shujaa Sevens going back to core status is when I look at the technical bench that's there. I see Amonde, I see Hayange, I see a lot of people who, first of all, have Kenyan rugby at heart and also are very technically skilled as leaders to guide these young boys into the promised land. I think this relegation was a blessing in disguise because it gave us a chance to rethink, relook, and restructure, you know, like how we want to move forward. The good thing about the Rugby Sevens team, one thing that I'm happy about is that it's a very visible team. They go play in a lot of tournaments. This particular government that we have, because there's a government aspect in as far as funding these teams, travel and facilitating a lot of other things. They don't like embarrassments in as much as, you know, like the hard snafus, they don't like embarrassment. So the Rugby Sevens team is very visible and they have a very vocal social media following. Anything small that happens, it's going to be out in the media. So I think they will be taken good care of. And to me, that was a spectacular performance in Harare, Zimbabwe, where they beat South Africa in the finals. And a shout out to Konye, who's been going to all Kenyan rugby tournaments, I think, across the world. London, you go.
Konye, unajua,
Las Vegas, you
he
go.
needs to tell us what he
LA.
does so that we can even do the same thing. Pia sisi tuwe na yeye.
Yes, Konye, we need to know what to do for a
I
living.
thought that Joji was the ultimate. Lakini Konye amepeleka hii to another level.
Yes, I know. So shout out Konye, and we also want you on the One Mic Show. In case you're listening, your space is open here.
We'll find him on Bora, so he's not far.
Yes.
We'll find him on Bora.
Yes, but Mika, back to you. What exactly do we need to do now to prepare for Olympics? I know there's invitational. Some of these tournaments bring in invitational teams. Is there a possibility now that we are the African champions and have qualified for the Olympics? Is there a possibility that we may get invites to the invitationals, and approximately how many legs would this be so that we can prepare ourselves to go watch Kenya? And then here's the other question.
Okay, so we're going to have qualification legs that are going to be part of the RP series. So their series is where we'll have qualification tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a matter of invitational, we can say maybe Dubai and South Africa look very appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Hong Kong also looks very appealing. Those are destinations that are very close. Like you also look at tournaments whereby when Kenya is invited and is going, it's not that strenuous in the pockets of the union.
Okay.
Because the union still has to also, as much as they are taking care of the national team, they have Chipu to take care of. They have the 15s teams. Then they have the ladies 15s and 7 teams also, which are also playing and trying to qualify for some of these tournaments. And also they have to take care of the league and the development. So as much as we would like them to play, we also should not be too selfish and just demand that they try to go and play a lot of friendly games and a lot of But the tournaments that we have are enough, and they should just keep doing what they're doing. Keep on training the way they're training. Keep on um, having the heart that they're having, and you will actually see a difference on how they play now compared to how they were playing before.
Okay. All right. Now, the other question is, in the invitational tournament, as we get to wrap up the sports segment, in the invitational tournaments, has there been ever a situation where a team was invited for an invitational and then they went and won the whole tournament and beat the core teams? Has that ever happened?
It has never happened. Can it happen? Yes, it can happen. It's a tournament. You never know. Other teams might get injuries, and that invitational team is just too good and go ahead and win.
That will be so fun if it happens. It will be.
Yeah. So but then most teams that are in the invitational tournaments are there because they're developing teams. They're not the core teams. They don't play that much, so it's not something that can easily happen.
Okay, but now Kenya will be an invitational team, and I think unfortunately this team that has been set up, they have that ability to play in a core tournament. It's just that we've been relegated, so it will be interesting to see that happen. But
but yes, pressure about it. This team should just go play and enjoy itself. Wajeni kuwapatia pressure wakashinda invitational or not.
Okay.
Right now where it is, it's a place whereby the team is in development, and we should accept that it's in a development stage. It's developing as it goes. Even for the Olympics, qualifying for the Olympics is good. If we get medals from the Olympics, it's good. But the purpose is for it to get back to core status. If it can get back to core status next year, then the year after that, maintain the core status. Then on the third year now, they can start chasing
for the title.
For the title, yeah.
Okay, right.
That will be the best progression. And Omosho's right. It's 4 teams which are relegated. It's 4 teams which are relegated every year.
Okay.
From the season. Yep.
Yeah,
it was a new thing that just started.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have we have 4 we have 4 slots that are
we have 4 slots for promotion. 4 teams are relegated and 4 teams are promoted. So you basically have to ensure that you finish top 8 every year to maintain core status.
Okay.
But don't you also have to be in the what's it called? The I guess, do I call it the tournament of losers? Because not even though you don't automatically go there, right? You have to qualify for that.
That's for teams that are not by the end of the tournament that are not in the top 8. I think now these are
correct,
the teams are given a chance.
Which is right now is where Kenya is. So Kenya has to go into this.
No, Kenya is not into that tournament. Oh, you're confusing. Kenya, we are relegated. Right now, we are playing for qualification.
Oh, okay. So we have to qualify to get into the tournament for.
We have not tournament.
Losers.
We have to qualify to get into the IRB core teams to become part of that 12. So when we become part of that 12, we play the whole series. Then at the end of the series, depending on where we finish, if we are above the, we are on the top 8, we are safe. If we're below if we're at the lower 4, we get relegated.
Okay.
So where
other teams are promoted.
Okay, so where is Tonga playing now? Because Tonga is not in those.
Because Tonga is not a core team. I don't know if they qualify.
Tonga is not a core team.
I don't know.
Remember, they were out and they came back.
Tonga.
No.
Yeah.
Before they did this 12 thing. Okay, and that's why I'm trying to get clarification. So we have the new set of rules that they brought in was that you had 8 teams that are in it. It's 12 that are part of the core, but then 4 of them get relegated. That wasn't what they did previous years. It just started this last year, correct?
Yes, relegation started last year.
Yes,
coming in because the reason they wanted that is to give teams option. The thing is, it's the developing teams, instead of just them being invitational teams, they're being given a chance to qualify and be part of the core status and play the whole series. So it also helps in development. It's a league will never do. You see the difference between the MLS and the Premier League. The Premier League and European type of football structure has relegation up and down, right?
Yes.
So that's why they have teams that they have grassroots football, lower divisions coming up and going all the way from up. And a team has the ability to rise and fall in between. It allows development of the sports.
Okay.
But when you just have a league whereby there's no relegation, everybody's just playing to make money, profitable. Yes, everybody is making money, but then does the game develop lower down the pyramid? There is no development down the pyramid because the team down the pyramid, all they do is also just play and stay there. Nobody. So you find small teams are not investing money to try to come up. So it's the same thing with the rugby.
Okay.
Those teams that those small country teams are getting a chance now to be promoted into the core status. And once you become a core team and you play you'll find that maybe a Tonga might survive and stay the next year. Then it develops, the players continue getting better and better, especially since we have teams like New Zealand, Australia, England, which use sevens as a feeder program for their 15s. They might be weaker and probably not just win, but maybe drop lower, and that Tonga is strong and gives that Tonga a chance to go and win a tournament or even just winning the whole series.
Okay.
So it's more of the reason for the relegation is more for development than anything else.
Okay, asante sana Mika, and we're going to keep talking rugby. Just let me read a few comments before we get to our topic for tonight, which is about being responsible for your spouse's family financial needs. Are you responsible for whoever the breadwinner is? Are you responsible for your spouse's family financial needs? Want you to start thinking about that. But a few comments here or coming while we were talking. Pablo was saying politics na edibles have been missing for some time. So I think he was enjoying today's show. And then Afro-Jamaican says, I like Ruto too, but my mind is changing. Okay, all right. Na Pablo, usiseme ati ni one mic show ndo imemfanya Afro-Jamaican na change, but yes, his mind is changing, justifiably so. Pablo says, shout out to One Mic Show for hosting Tabitha. Tabitha's session with men was equally dope. Asanteni sana. We want more, please. Yes, and we will be getting more of Tabitha. We will be updating you on how that will be happening. And then Apasle was saying Mika needs an intro, which I think Omosh gave. And then, let me see.
Slay leo amekuwa kikuja nini. Slay, see me behind the tent.
Yeah. And then Slay anasema, can you also talk about how the Wild Rugby was given 3 million, yet this is roughly what each individual, or rather she's asking, is this what each individual receives, or is it the whole team that was given 3 million? Because I think the president gave 3 million. I doubt if it was individual players, but
it was
the whole team was given 3 million, and it was kwa jumla.
Yeah, kwa jumla. Mwende mkagawane. Okay. Aya, sawa.
And I don't think we should be comparing with athletes who won medals, because then I think that's where the comparison.
This is a medal too. Of course, it's a title. African champions.
It's the equivalent of African.
It's a big
like
deal.
An African Cup. It's a big deal. It's just that it was being used for Olympic qualifiers. Then I also want to welcome Mose Kemunto Gladys Karibu Sana, and I can also see Bato Gitao. I think this is Bato Gitao changes class of. I cannot reveal that because I'm a young guy. I'm not,
Suseme too, you're revealing his, not yours.
No, I'm in my 30 team.
Okay, wait a minute. Are you revealing his or
satellite in the building?
Riruta
satellite in the building.
All right.
Bato sema which class you are in, and if you are not in Mumia, ama ulikuwa kule Kari Francis or
actually Bato was in James House.
Unaona?
Right next to Mumia.
Unaona? Watu wa kuhepa fence ya nyuma.
No, these were people skiving. Skiving, in fact, like the first time I skived from school, I was hanging out with people from that block. In that block, when you walk out of school, I didn't even know I was skiving. I was just following people where they were going. And then shortly unaanza kuangalia, I'd been in the school for a few weeks.
Things have changed.
Unaanza kuangalia, you're starting
to see. There's no fence.
No, unaanza kuona like regular people who are not part of the school, and you're like, Allah, what's going on here? Is there a part where... Then that's when you realize that you're actually out
you
of
the school. You have skived.
Because the school had no fence. But that was changes
at least
for us.
Those Masai watches didn't figure you guys with Mishale.
No. There are no Masai watches on that side. But anyway, you know, we're going to get to the segment of the show, last segment of the show that most of you have been waiting for. And it's a question of, are you responsible of taking care of your spouse's family financially? You know, like, what are your thoughts on that? Is it fair? Is it unfair? Is it everybody has to go their way? How is this supposed to work? And at what point do you get to where you are supposed to be the one taking care of the spouse's family? And when we're talking about the spouse's family, we're not talking about your children. We're talking about, you know, like your spouse's dad, your spouse's mom, your spouse's siblings, cousins, whoever, you know, like we're talking about. Is it fair to take care of them? Omosh, I'm going to start with you. Tell us what you think about this, and then we're going to go to Mike and then Mika.
Well, in the African context, because, you know, we really have to give this thing context, right? In the African context, when you marry, you basically, you're bringing in the woman into your home, and she then now becomes your family.
Okay.
Her family becomes your family as well.
Okay.
There is no separation in the African context. And that's the whole part of, you know, the male pays bride price, aka dowry, and you go through the different ceremonies depending on, you know, if you're Kikuyu, there are like 18 ceremonies you go through. But
Comes slowly.
Anyway, at the end of the day, the bride price / dowry, or giving and or looking after the family or contributing never ends. It's a continuous thing. You're always contributing. So the question then here becomes, are you contributing just at the parental level, or are you doing it past the parental level going down?
So let me ask you a question. In this setup that you're talking about,
Yes.
in this African, in fact, that when people you say Africa, that is so wide. But in this specific
Mimi
setup that
African
you're
kwa
talking
hivyo
about,
moja amesema sijui amesema African gani.
ngoja, but in this setup, let's hypothetically talk about Omosh setup.
Okay.
In this setup where you've married, and my question is, before you married this lady that you married and you paid dowry for,
Yes.
who was taking care of these family members before you married her? Was she the one taking care of them, or who was taking care of them?
It doesn't matter.
No, but
it's
no.
Emotional theory is wrong.
I know you're saying
it doesn't matter. It's
I'm
none of your
asking-
business.
but I'm asking in this setup,
the
who
minute
was
that you have brought her in, you bring her in, you pay the dowry, but you're also bringing that family in.
But
it is
Omosh,
now you.
Omosh, ngoja kwanza. Let me ask you something.
Why
Right?
don't
You're
you
Luo,
let me
right?
finish my statement?
Okay, wacha Omosha
Yes.
malize and then Nico tuingie.
Ngoja kwanza nataka kuuliza tu swali rahisi. Omosh, what is the interaction of in Luo culture between a man and his in-laws?
What do you mean by what's the interaction?
But what is it? You cannot just pop
but
into your in-laws' house,
you can't
right?
you can't pop in. You can't walk. It's a process.
Before there's an interaction, communication has to be sent months and months in advance na watu wako wamejipanga, si ndio?
It's a process, correct?
Okay, so when you say according to African culture that it was a continual process, I'm trying to understand which part of African culture did we see that when people marry went to take care of their in-laws? What were they going? What are they doing? I understand paying of dowry because you're paying for it, and people could negotiate, and let's say they want 20,000, you could negotiate and say tuko na 10 sahi tutawaletea using ile kidogo, or maybe during matanga there was help, like there was that, like in-laws can contribute this, like when they have a tragic event, they would contribute something to continue to help in easing that load to the family. But there was never anything like a continuing care or continuing ati mnyendo mnawapatianga food ama mnawapatianga nyama ama mnawachunga. No, it was never there. So I'm trying to understand which part of African culture you're referring to.
So the part of African culture that I'm referring to, which may be the part that you're not thinking about, is that so-called visit you're talking about, or interaction that's planned ahead of time. When you go, do you go empty-handed?
No, but even when you go, you're not going like you're carrying three cows or anything, or
but-
three
but-
three
but-
cuckoos. No, you will
No,
go
but-
like with
okay.
labda a jogo. You will go with a jogo ahead of a ile nini ya ndizi.
Okay,
The thing
sawa.
was this. The
Okay,
thing was
sawa.
this. The
Le-
purpose of those visits was usually not to embarrass your in-laws. And hiyo kwenda kwanza, the thing that you're saying that those visits you're going to like go and feed them or take care of them or do something. It was never planned like that. And even if you're going to do a visit to your in-laws, mostly it was by invite, not you deciding to just go.
Okay, Mika, let's come back to Omoshe's context. Regardless, regardless
you
of
still
culture,
don't go empty-handed.
Yeah, regardless of culture, let's
You go with something, and that's why I was saying
Yeah.
in the context. And again, I'm saying this in the context of the and when I say that you don't stop paying dowry, it means that you're always going to be giving, and that to me, and you may not look at it that way, that is that part of you're always still giving, which is part of that upkeep and part of whatever else you want to call it.
Okay.
So the problem here is this, right? Even if I'm not communicating directly with my in-laws, or let's call them outlaws, whichever one you want to call them, right? So your spouse, who is the one who is the direct link, is going to do the communication.
yeah, on your behalf.
At the end of the day, what comes back?
Okay.
School fees is needed. It could be for, I don't know, another maybe younger child.
Okay.
It could be, hold on, upkeep your paros. Maybe one may retire. Could be the roof of the house has due in need. The list is long.
Is long. Now here's the thing. Let's stick to that list. You mentioned school fees. You mentioned parents' upkeep. You mentioned maybe there's a young child that has been born. Is there, like a limit of what it is, like that you should be taking care of on the side of your spouse's family? Is there a limit, or is it any expenses they have, you reach in your pocket?
Sasa now, let's be realistic. Everything you take care of has to be within your means.
Okay, so of course,
let's be realistic.
So of course,
right?
it has to be within your
so
means.
there's nothing that's
when I talk
written.
about limits,
There's nothing that's written that says, okay, hapa ndio pale unafika na hapa uvuki.
No, when I talk about limit, I don't mean amount. Maybe I did not explain myself well. I mean like in terms of what you're paying for. You're paying for school fees, so of course all this has to be within your reach.
Yes, but
so
there's
there certain things
there's no set standard kusemati. Okay, if it's maybe for a brother, then you don't pay, or if it's for the mother and father, you pay. There's nothing that's like that. It's so let's say the want will come to you. Sasa wewe ndio unaona vile unaweza handle, because you may not be able to handle even for
once. I'm just asking, maybe what if they want to go for a vacation? They've been working hard the whole year. They want to go for a vacation to Mombasa.
Correct.
Is that something that you'd also take care of? And that's where I ask, is there a limit of
but
those
Ali,
ones?
That's not upkeep.
So that's where I'm asking, where's the limit?
That is not upkeep. Let's use real life scenarios. That's not upkeep. Real life scenario ni the basic stuff that people use to live.
Rent.
To me, that's what
that's
what I say. Real life scenario. Let's just say that your spouse's parents are retired and they're in the village, and they may not even have a pension. Guess what? You're the one who's going to be their pension.
Okay, all right. So that's good. Like there's some people who feel like there's certain limits. Let's come to Uno Mike. Uno Mike has been a bit quiet. I think he's deliberately avoiding this topic.
No.
Because
hajawahi toa shilingi kutoka mfuko yake. Hiyo ndio problem yake.
Hapana, I think because the family might be listening, na yeye labda kona limit ya what he gives to the other side. So
kwa nini ameweka limit? Kwanza unajua leo ni birthday. Aongee vizuri.
Yeah, leo ni birthday ya Jerry. Yeah, Jerry, happy birthday.
Kwa nyinyi ma uncles mjue upkeep lazima mutatoa. Keki lazima.
Tucheze na cash up.
Cash up. Actually, what I'll do is I'll give you the M-Pesa number.
Later. We are not scared. After all, what's the rate, Ali?
It's 145.
I think it is 147.
148.
Nala. Unangalia Nala ama...
Tap.
No, but we're not doing...
Tap is less than Nala. No.
It's 445.
But remember,
Tap is less than Nala.
So
please,
anyway,
don't let me...
No free promotion.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. To back up what Omosh is saying.
Yeah.
So like for the Kikuyus, we normally say, that Rorashio, it never finishes. It never does.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you umepeleka whatever you had been counted for, there'll always be an intertwining. If you guys have kids already, right? So like now, for example, if you have got 3 kids or 4 kids,
Yeah.
right? Boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. At some point, the parents on the other side have been named, and on this other side, the parents have been named. So at some point, the kids have to carry. So you will always be related somehow, somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's not that you just marry. Because yes, I can see Tucha, and I agree with Tucha, because what happens is once you go through the process, traditionally what would happen is once the woman, you've paid the dowry and people have agreed, the woman vacates the father's house with the bed, mattress, everything. So her she's going. She's not actually going to come back. It's a one-way trip. Meli Shango Wananga. Okay? Meli Shango Wananga. It's a one-way trip.
Yeah.
So,
No coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there's an attempt to try to come back.
Unajua nini? You guys have diluted the question that Ali said.
We are setting a precedent here.
No, hakuna president mnaset.
No, because you're not allowing us to finish our points.
No. You guys are trying to marry. You're trying to marry 2 different timelines into one to justify something that's not supposed to be there. Ali asked a simple question: when you get married, are you responsible for taking over the financial responsibilities of your spouse family?
He didn't say taking over. He said taking care of.
Okay, providing. Because that to me, providing. What is that taking over? Providing. In simple terms, Omosh, you marry slave. Sasa,
Don't say that
what
too loud.
are your responsibility for you to pay their school fees? They come stay with you. They come live with you.
Correct.
Right? And then home, when maybe those are the type of questions that he is saying. Let's look at it in the modern terms.
It's not that simple.
Hold up.
Okay,
it's not that simple.
No. The thing is this: when you try to, when you try to justify by saying, yes, traditionally, at a side modernly, even if you marry into a family that's rich, when you go to see your in-laws out in Namkonokavu, that interaction between you two, there's always be some money that's changing hands, some things that are doing. That is normal.
Okay.
That is part of life, right? It's the same way ukisema hata kama ulirashia na kuna watoto na nini, every time you're going to do that is it. That is not responsibility.
Okay,
Let's talk about responsibility.
No.
Okay,
that's fine.
Okay, 1 second.
No, Ali, let me finish my point.
Yes, sir. So Mika, wacha.
Let me finish what?
Wacha unomalize point.
Let me finish my point.
And then we're gonna come to you.
And to piggyback on I'm gonna go back and I'm going to piggyback on what Tomosh was saying, because that's where we're coming from. Again, because there has to be context.
Yes.
We cannot just say support, because for some people it's cultural. There's a cultural intertwining,
aspect,
there's a tribal underpinning, whatever it is, no matter how it is. Right? Over here we understand that, the bride's family is the one that pays for the wedding.
Yeah.
Same thing in India. Right? And
in India, the bride pays the dowry.
To the
groom.
To the groom.
Yeah.
Here the bride's family, they do what? They pay for the wedding. Right?
Yes.
So like it's hard to say that. It's not it's not clear and clear cut. So there has to be a cultural context, because the cultural context for some of us, it's what drives us as much as a religious context.
Yeah.
So it's not just that because you've moved here and then you just become, I'm not going to support. No, there are a lot of underpinnings, and that's why I was going back and I was giving sort of a background on what Omosh was saying, because when you marry,
yeah,
you are indeed, there's a way the family becomes intertwined.
Yeah.
Now, Dombolo mentioned, you said something that was very important, and I don't know if it's part of your notes, but at some point, when you marry the person you marry,
yeah,
you are 100% responsible.
You're 100% responsible for that person.
For that, whatever your spouse, especially for the man, if you bring in that woman, 100% responsibility.
So here's a question, which is the same question I asked Omosh. Like we are now talking. You're of course 100% responsible for the person that you married.
Yes.
But then when we are talking about the family, that's another entity. It is her family. It is a family. But now here's my question to you. Who was taking care of that family, we're talking the brother.
Before you came in.
Before you
Yeah.
came in, the brother, the dad, the mom, who was taking care
Like
of them.
Omosh was saying, it doesn't matter. If you as the man have gone and picked up this mama,
Okay.
if there was nobody responsible for that,
Yeah.
but we uko na kakitu,
Okay.
the
Okay, fair.
responsibility that's going to fall on you.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
So I'll ask you again the same question I asked Omosh. Is there a limit? Because tuseme, you know, like there are those basic needs, for example, like food, clothing, maybe rent, maybe kuna mtoto anataka kulipiwa fees. Is there a limit? Because the next thing, baba pia atajisikia anataka kudrive ka pickup. You know, ndo yeye mwenyewe
So
pia sikia raha.
it depends on your means, like Omosh was saying. It's
Yeah.
up to your means. And it's not only up to your means, but if, let's say, for example, ni fukara kabisa, fukara through and through,
Yeah.
but you have the village bicycle, when ndio onekana uko na kakitu, trust me, at some point, when ndio utakuwa transport manager.
Okay. Aya, wacha tuje kwa Mika briefly, you know, because Mika seems to disagree with the both of you.
And Mika is not coming from the African context, so he needs to tell us.
He's
that.
coming
No,
from
no, no,
Mika's
no. I'm
context.
coming from the African context.
Oh,
because I'm
okay,
African.
thank
I'm
you.
looking
Okay,
at it
go
from
ahead.
African point of
Aya,
view, and I'm
briefly
saying it
Mika.
because-
Briefly Mika.
Go ahead, Mika.
The thing is this. I totally agree on the dowry part, right? You pay dowry, the families. When you marry, two families become one, right? And especially two families become one on an aspect of that you've taken their kid, and their kid has joined into your family. But there is also, I would say, culturally, and that's why Niliza Umosh, yeye Mjaluo, nikamzata culturally. There's always a line drawn between how the in-laws interact. Hakunanga tu kukutana fwa ama kufanya vitu fwa. There's a protocol on how things are done. And so the fact that you go to see these people, or that you, every time you go to see them, you're carrying gifts or you're giving it, does not mean that you are responsible or you're obligated to help. Your helping is when your spouse speaks to you and asks you, okay, bro, amelemewa na school fees, madhara zifanya nini na nini nini, can you chip in? And then you chip in if you can. If you cannot chip in, yeye kanajua finances zako vile ziko na unaweza chip in, you guys will have to figure it out together. If you have to do 50-50 ama yeye atajua vile atafanya, but you'll have to figure it out. You are not obligated to take responsibility for them. But then what about your family? If you are the only one who's made it out and your family is also broke, that is how you find spouses fighting over each other, because this one feels like a responsibility. Why is he not taking care of my brother and I take care of brother yake ama sijui nini? The thing is, when you start saying blanketed terms like when you marry into a family, you are responsible for that family because you married into that family. It brings back to what Ali is saying. Who was taking care of that family before you came in?
Okay. So
Alienda wapi? Aliwacha.
So here is where I think you know, yes, I mean, of course there's the cultural aspects that we are talking about, but then of course there's also the real life aspects. I personally feel like it's very unfair, you know, like if you marry and then now the family of the wife expects you to take care of them, you know. And here I'm looking at it, you know, like if you know, like if I start looking at it culturally, you know, like a lot of us who come from Muslim cultures, the religious part, you know, like tends to, you know, not necessarily eliminate the cultural part, but it just tends to regulate it, you know, on what it feels generally is not fair. So when it comes to the Muslims, I mean, of course, first of all, the man is responsible for the woman. Doesn't matter if this woman is working, doesn't matter if she's getting paid more than you are financially responsible for her, period. And that's where it ends. You're responsible for her and your family. Now, if you choose to, you know, like to assist, you know, like her family, and of course now you're one unit. I mean, if her family is in distress and you're in a position to help them, that is encouraged, but it's not an obligation. And here is where I think we may get to, you know, like a dangerous part if we're not careful. I think mentally, everyone, you know, like who has a family has to put a cap generally on whoever they're helping, regardless of whether it's the spouse's family or even your own family. There has to be a cap. In my view, it is when you take up a responsibility that has no cutoff, a recurrent expenditure that has no cutoff. For example, rent. Rent you'll keep paying, it has no cutoff. School fees, on the other hand, has a cutoff. Mtoto atamaliza primary ama atamaliza high school, it has a cutoff point at some point. So my advice is for people to take up payments or rather responsibilities that have cutoffs, because when you go towards upkeep, I think that's very dangerous territory, because in as much as, like, we love our cultures, but we live in the world today. If something happens to you, for example, you lose a job or you lose your income, and these people have been conditioned to expect something from you, it will become a big problem. Award here is giving the number. I think I don't know whether she wants to call. I don't know. I don't think the phone is working today. So yes, but Washeke wanted to talk. I don't know whether we can connect her on Zoom. Washeke, I'll send you the Zoom link, and then or actually you already have the Zoom link. If you can connect on the same Zoom link that I sent to you when we interviewed
audio.
you,
She can still do audio.
But you can also do video.
Kabisa.
You can also do video. Sione haya. It will be nice.
You'll
for
be
us
taken care of by.
You'll be taken care
by
of
the coast or Nyalego.
But yeah, but to me, I think it is important to have, like a cap, because it is not sustainable.
A cap and boundaries.
Yeah.
But okay. Understandably so.
And I agree. I actually agree.
And you know when
I
this
agree with
happens?
that statement.
When this happens, before you start even the dowry process, when you start talking, these are conversations that I had way before.
Yes. And I think
But
it's important to have this conversation.
The thing is, if you say before, sometimes it's not that. Sometimes you might actually just, like, they might be comfortably being able of taking care of themselves, right? And then maybe something happens, like a death happens, or the breadwinner of the family goes and is no longer available. Then now the situation shifts, and then now you are required to chip in. So even if we have these conversations, when you say you're having them early or not, they might not necessarily be required to be had, but it is, again, as Aliyah says, there has to be a cap, and I think there also have to be boundaries on how much expectation is expected from your in-laws to help, and this goes both sides, and also with your family, because the thing is, yes, you're young, you're successful. The money that you should be using for your own family, the one that you're creating, you and your wife and your children, is going outside. And we know how black tax is. It never ends. You'll be taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed until the day that you decide to say no, whatever happens. So there should be boundaries and limits on how this helping is being set up. But it will never be an obligation that my sister married into a rich family or my brother married into a rich family, now I deserve to be taken care of.
Again,
Okay.
and if Washeke, by the way, we're waiting for you.
We are waiting for you. I've already sent the link on your WhatsApp, so just click the link.
Still,
on your
these
WhatsApp.
are important conversations to have.
Yes. And
No, it is,
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Like how people don't talk about, how many kids we want.
And Award is saying there should be continuous conversations. The spousal family support leans differently in each household, because there are parental homes that lean hard mpaka they feel they have rights to your financials.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think, like beyond issues of, beyond issues like, we'll be watching sunsets and we'll be watching, I don't know, birds fly or whatever. I think a very important conversation should be financials. I think the problem is that there's a romanticization, like where people focus on the romance, we'll be wearing matching outfits and stuff like that.
The walks by
But
the
then-
beach.
Yeah, the walks by
Sunset,
the beach. Yes.
sipping pina coladas.
By the way, those things. Anyway, let's get Washeke to talk first. And as Washeke is coming in, I want all the people who are tuned in to think about what if, because we know we have situations nowadays where some women are comfortable of taking care of their men, so they're the breadwinners. So in this case, is this woman breadwinner also taking care of the man's family?
By the
Or
way,
is it just the
Kwa
other way
sababu
around?
tumesema spouse.
Eh?
Remember
spouse.
Remember Mika asking
Tumesema
about
spouse.
Yeah.
take a partner for dinner. You did.
Vile
ulishambuliwa.
It's supposed to be take a man on a date, man.
What?
Na imeisha tu bado siku 8.
Hiyo imeenda.
Hiyo
Nani
imeenda.
ameenda date hapa? Nani
Hiyo
ameenda
Hiyo
date?
imeenda, boss.
imeenda,
Hiyo
hiyo imeenda.
imeenda.
Yeah.
So on YouTube, Nia Generational says that she does not think that one should be continuously taking care of grown people. Emergencies and occasional assistance is okay. She also, Uno, she says happy birthday to your daughter Njeri as well.
Thank you,
Oh,
man.
happy birthday, Jerry.
And then she says, in-law alimony. I say nope.
In-law alimony.
That's what she called it.
It actually sounds-
Nia Generation has come with, I think she must have been wearing gloves.
Okay, I think we are connected to Washeke. Let's hear what Washeke has to say.
Yeah, wazee hadi
And I think
Hi guys.
Hi Washeke, how are you doing today?
Good. Mnanisikia?
Nakusikia.
She's going for dinner.
but she's looking like she's looking at an angle.
She's going for dinner.
No, that's okay.
That's okay. Okay,
You can
sawa,
look at
sawa.
the
Sawa, no,
angle.
no, sawa.
Don't worry.
Oh, she's not going for dinner.
No, I like that.
I
angle.
wasn't prepared, okay? So mtana msiniangalie sana.
So this is how you look unprepared.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness me.
Oh my goodness. But anyway,
So,
let's go ahead. And
sinifanye
you have an
ni blush.
assistant, and we can see your assistant.
But it's true.
Oh, by the way, before the show ends, Mwembe, happy birthday. It's her birthday. She is turning 9.
We can sing for her
we can
now.
sing right now.
We can sing
no,
right
sing
now.
for her right now.
Yeah.
We can sing for her right now.
Why is she shy?
naona vile amefurahi.
Shy.
Remind us her name. Remind us her name again.
Johari or Jojo. We call her Jojo.
Jojo.
Okay.
On
Aya.
3,
2, 1.
Happy birthday, Jojo.
Jojo.
Happy birthday,
Jojo.
Happy birthday, dear Jojo. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Jojo.
Happy birthday, Jojo.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Washeke, talk to us about
All
this.
right.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye,
Bye.
Jojo.
So you guys, the answer is no. And I think you guys are
Hiya.
conflicting.
Hiya.
You guys are conflicting issues, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Dowry, paying dowry has nothing to do with taking over, financial responsibility for your in-laws.
And we didn't say that.
That's how you are explaining
No,
almost,
no,
okay?
no.
You're
No, let
explaining.
Washeke talk. Let Washeke
Okay, go
talk,
ahead.
and then we're gonna
Sorry,
decide.
sorry.
Yeah,
I will
Washeke, keep
dispute
going.
it.
Yes, good. Paying dowry and taking over financial responsibility, in-laws, those are two different things. I think
Mhm.
what has happened, how we find ourselves as a partner taking over financial responsibilities in cases where you get married and your spouse probably is the one who's well off, maybe the eldest, and has been supporting, his parents and his siblings, and it's expected that even though they're getting married, they're going to have their own household. It's expected that he will continue with taking with the financial responsibility. And I think that's where black tax come in, where which we have discussed, but it should never be an expectation that just because you're marrying someone that you should take over the burden. You can help if you want, and if you're capable, and if you have planned for your family, because I think we're handicapping the new couple by forcing them to take responsibilities that are not theirs. So for me, I mean, it's not part of our culture, but it has sort of evolved into our culture because you are helping your parents, and I think that's what has handicapped a lot of our parents, a lot of our siblings, is because we just take over responsibility, and people don't even think about resolving their own issues because we're there taking over, and it just continues and it never ends. You start educating your younger brothers and sisters, they finish college, they get married, they get kids, and still you're the one taking care of them. At some point, it has to end. If it's like, if you're saying, okay, I'm going to pay your school fees so you can be able to be a productive citizen, that's it. But it should not be going more than that. So I think at some point, and it has to be like you're willing, not expectation.
Yes, and you know, I am actually in agreement with what Washeke is saying, because one thing that people don't factor in, you know, there's all these issues about culture. You've married into this family. One thing that people don't factor in marriages is that finances are the number one reason why people divorce. So anytime you bring in something, it's not even cheating. You know, people talk about cheating a lot, but it's not even cheating, it's finances. So when you introduce an aspect within your finances that's a revolving thing, meaning it's gonna keep coming back, just know that you're also increasing the chances of a potential divorce happening, because whenever there's something that's an additional, and we're not millionaire, unless there's a secret millionaire here, maybe Mika, but if you have
Washeke.
if you have
Washeke just raised her hand.
Okay, all right.
She goes for dinners every other.
Oh yeah, so Washeke, then I'm coming for that loan after the show. But let's talk behind the tent. But if you introduce something that's gonna strain your finances, and you're not even living a lavish life, you know, you're still in the process of trying to give your family a comfortable life. But then there's someone here who's taking a certain chunk. Black tax, when we talk of black tax, because in the diaspora, we are black taxed in so many different ways. Because there's the family aspect, and then there's also the aspect of others who are taking your money. You know, like there was some research that was done by, I don't know, there was by CBK or by who, that was analyzing, you know, like some of these remittances. So there's all on average give anywhere between 5 to 30% of their total income. So I want people to contextualize that for a moment. If 20 or 30% of your total income is going towards, you know, like maybe helping your spouse's family, who are okay or who are living in whatever way they were living before you guys got married, but now 30% of your income is going there. Let's assume you make $100,000 modest income. Around $30,000 is going towards taking care of other things that are not involved in any way with you household. Building your household or building your own wealth. When you look at a 10-year span, you know, and even think about that money sitting, for example, in an index fund. I don't have the complete numbers. The raw numbers in 10 years, that's 300,000. The actual numbers may be up to $600,000. That's a house. That's a whole house you could have bought. Maybe you're still renting. You're still in a process where you're still renting, but you're busy here, you know, like struggling with your family. But in the meantime, you're saying that you're helping another family. Unfortunately, we don't have Annette today. Annette had mentioned that kids raised in the US, because now you're dealing with kids who are born and raised in the US, and maybe you're helping a family that's back in Kenya. Kids raised in the US will never understand why they're struggling while they can clearly see that you're helping others. Washeke.
Well, let me speak to that. Because I'm raising a kid in the US who doesn't understand. So we were having this discussion, and she wanted something. She wanted me to get something. And at some point I had responsibility. I was, you know, supporting people at home, especially during COVID. So I was sitting down and doing my calculations. I have to pay myself first. That's how I look at it. Like, so my savings, my retirement, healthcare savings, index fund and all that. And then what's left is obviously to pay my bills. And then, you know, my bills involve supporting people at home. And then I sat down and realized that I am denying my child. I'm away from her almost 10 hours a day because, she goes to school. She's not in school 10 hours a day, but she has to go somewhere else for an hour or so until I get home because I have to work. And then I'm sacrificing all this time away from her. And then I can't even get her a simple thing or even take her on vacation because I am taking care of other people at home. And then those people at home, when you go home, they're not even struggling the way they claim. Those people are people that own homes, they own plots, they own rental housing. And the money you're sending them is not even to rescue them, to pay for their daily needs. You realize it's sherehe money. Watu wanaenda somewhere.
It's to improve the quality of life.
You wanaenda wanna spend 100,000. That's almost $1,000 in one night.
Yes, balling like they play for New England.
Hiyo ni pesa na wewe you have sacrificed, you've denied your child a quality life. So like we must start to have those conversations with ourselves. We should only be helping once you help yourself. Like they say when you're on the airline, like first wear your mask before you start put on your mask, even if it's your child's mask. So a lot of us, we don't even have emergency funds. We're not even funding our retirement accounts, but we are busy, helping people at home. And those are the same people don't appreciate what they do. They say, wewe umekuwa maju for 20 years, you don't even have anything, hujajenga nyumba nini. That's what they do. They laugh at us. But meanwhile, the reason why you don't have anything is because wewe do educate everybody in that home. On top of that, they've had their own families. You're now educating the second and third generation. And they will continue. People have 4 or 5 kids and they don't even cater for themselves because they know Washeke is gonna be sending $1,000 a month. Kwa hivyo kukula na kulala tutalala. So I think we're not helping, we're enabling, bad habits.
Yes, we are enabling bad habits. Washeke, asante sana.
I think Washeke needs to be my COVID partner. Washeke, just see me uko. I'm going to come and see you.
Okay. And I'm also seeing you for that loan behind the tent. So umesema ni millionaire. So tuonane nyuma ya tent. Loan, not
loan
tax.
As long as nini nataka 30% interest.
30%. Tunataka how much interest?
30% interest.
30% per month.
30%. Sa interest ningetoa lakini ni haramu. Kwa Waislamu interest ni haramu. Ningekupatia.
I guess he's not getting that loan.
Let's
move on to the Chipotle guy. Anaweza jisort.
Sasa mimi haturuhusiwi kutoa interest.
Mimi mtu wa COVID tuonane tu vile ulikuwa na shambulia wale watu wengine, just send me, a loose 30% of your income. I'll take it.
Almost no is a complete sentence.
Oh, okay. All right. Si at least ungemwambia utajaribu. Ama utaangalia.
Hata hero ungeacha tu nipewe Chipotle yangu.
No. I mean, amjakuwa na hiyo story. Mimi nishakuwa story, mtu anakupigia simu from Kenya anakuambia kuna hii business endeavor, he needs 4 million. Unamuuliza raise ngapi, anakuambia hana, lakini ukimpatia like ataweza. Yaani ameshakupangia everything.
And what is the payback for this 4 million? How do they intend to
pay? Payback.
Oh, so you're investing there blindly?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
4 meters.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, those are brave people.
Wow. Okay. All right. But I think we need voices like Washeke's, because I think a lot of narratives around this are driven around guilt, especially wale watu walichangiwa kuja huku.
Now Ali, remember she's speaking as a diaspora, because this question can be posed again just for
someone
much
in Kenya.
Yes, in Nairobi.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And it happens. And from what I have seen, for the people who are in Nairobi, they actually have what do they call them? Standing orders. That
to shags.
Yes, it's a standing order. This money goes to account A and account B. In fact, normally to the in-law parents, there is a standing order goes to mom and to dad, and you separate them, because if you give dad and you don't give mom, there's gonna be a war. So kila mtu waganapata yake.
But I think this is also a problem. It also shows a problem, which we don't look at it from this perspective, but it's a problem with the overall economy. We know that unemployment is high. Because at the end of the day, you know, like at the very basic level, I don't think there's anyone in this world who just loves, you know, like just taking money from other. Yes, there may be a small subset of. Ngojeni. Hey, Ngojeni. Wait a minute.
I disagree, Ali.
Did you hear our Sheka's? You did hear our Sheka's story?
Yani you're attacking from all angles. You guys are attacking from all angles.
I haven't said anything.
I think I think Ali must have told them it's haram for them to call him.
You guys are attacking from. I think, okay, here's what I feel. There are people who have been raised up in an environment where, you know, like asking for money has been normalized. So now they've grown up in situations where this is a normal thing to do. And then I think there's also an aspect where people do calculations. So I could actually take this job and get paid, you know, like 25,000 shillings a month. Let's say modest salary, 25K a month. Or, you know, like I can talk to Washeke, Ali, Uno Mike, Mika, and Omosh. If each of them sends me $50, that's more than what I'm making, and it's not. And I think these are some of the calculations that that people are pulling in their minds. Do I go and slave for a Muhindi and then get paid 25,000 shillings at the end of the month, or do I hustle? You know, do I spend like 30 minutes to an hour a day hustling different people I know in the diaspora? And I will likely
to see which one will hit.
Yes, to see which one will hit, and it does sometimes work, which I think goes to show there's an overall problem. Washeke.
If I might add, I'm sorry. So here's an example, and this is a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. So they would always call her to buy milk, and then she sat down and she did the calculation and decided, you know what I can do is, you know, we have land, we would have, you know, we have place where we can grow pasture, and we have a place where we can keep a cow. So instead of, you know, sending money every month to buy milk, why don't I buy a cow? And in the, you know, like in the first few months, I'll pay for the feeds for that cow and for someone to assist in, you know, in taking care of that cow, then they can get the milk from the cow. But you know what they did? Walienda wakauza hiyo ng'ombe, they didn't even tell her.
After how long was our ng'ombe?
After 1 year walienda wakauza hiyo ng'ombe. They didn't tell her, and then wakaanza kuitisha pesa. And then they were lying to her until she went home and realized, waliuza ng'ombe, and asking the reason why they sold the cow, she was being given conflicting information. But the bottom line is like they didn't want to hustle. Because even if they have someone helping to take care of the cow, you have to supervise. There's a lot of things. So essentially, it's easier for her. We've enabled, like I was saying, we've created these bad habits. Like instead of them, you have give them half the solution. You've invested, but they don't want to do the hard work. Wanataka tu pesa ingie chini kwa M-Pesa. That's it.
There's a level of entitlement among Africans. I don't like to say among black people. I just want to say among Africans.
Yes,
there's a level of entitlement among Africans whereby if you see that somebody who you're close with
or you know
has resources, you feel like you're entitled to their resources.
Those are your resources as well.
Yes. Yeah, they're
That's your
point. And you demand. You don't even ask. You demand that they should be able to drop everything for their issues. So that is why you'll see somebody will say, like, nisaidie labda ya kufanya kitu fulani, right? Before you even finish doing your maths, there's already a rude answer coming out. Like, so you're wondering, were you asking me? Were you trying or not? Like, because if I ask Ali for $500 and Ali tells me Hana, I'm supposed to accept Hana kwa sababu nikigeuka nikiona nimwomba Ali $500, then I see Ali amepost picha na kula tomahawk steak. Sivyo kukasirika.
Kwanza the cryo fry.
Alikuwa na 500 ya kukula tomahawk steak, hakukuwa na 500 ya kunipatia.
And how dare he?
I'm not entitled to his.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not. We have such a there's this
That
level
is
of
true.
entitlement that we have among our family, our relatives, our friends,
That's true.
and even just people, like a stranger. Like you feel you've spoken to somebody, okay, fine. You see Washeke is a millionaire. Umemjua tu kidogo, umemsalimia hi. Ukienda kumlilia na shida zako, she has a right to say no. It's simple as that.
But
It's just that
but I know Washeke. Why would she say no to me?
Again,
Because no is a full sentence, okay?
Utaitwa
No.
mkono
And actually,
birika.
Mika, that's a funny thing because someone came to me asking for money and I said no because I knew the reason they needed money and I wasn't going to support their bad habits. So I told them, no, I don't have the money. And then the next thing I posted pictures I was on vacation. They figured I was on vacation and they came back so mad, like, hey, you told me you don't have money and I'm seeing you're posting pictures, you're here.
Wait,
So
it's our money, your money, or their money?
oh God.
So I'm telling you, it's the entitlement. Like, yes, hii pesa we are earning here, it's their money. They're waiting for it counting on.
But
it.
I'll say this.
no, even in Kenya, you still find the entitlement is there. You'll find that there's this, but as long as there's, it's just that as long as there's this one person that you feel has more resources than you, then they're supposed to be entitled. It's just like you have relatives back in the village who will just give back because they know my bro, my cousin will not let my kids not go to school at
Yeah,
all.
and suffer, yeah.
Like, wewe kazi yako ni kuendelea tu kuzaa. Kazi yako ni kuendelea tu kuzaa. Like, aujiulizi like ulipangi fee hata siku moja wachia hapa.
Na una
Mwenye
job,
anasomesha,
una job
hauna
na you're
job.
the one who's
Yeah.
at the local bossa nini.
Yeah. Umeenda huko unasumbua tu watu like it's the thing is I think it's a lack of responsibility that we just don't like taking responsibility for our actions, and we want to deflect it to other people, and then we want to ask other people for help so that if they don't help us, we have an excuse and a reason to blame everybody but ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think your lack of taking accountability, it really plays in a harsh way for a widow, because what happens is, and this affects widows mostly. So you get married, your husband had a good job and you seem to be living a good life, but sometimes your husband's family, your in-laws, don't account for the fact that you as a wife, you have been contributing to your family being well off financially. And then, you pass away and now they're entitled, they start fighting you for the assets that you help, to accumulate. I mean, I was speaking to it because I was raised by, a widow. Thank God my dad's family were very fair people, but I have seen cases where matanga inaendelea and the in-laws already washakuja wananyakua
Wanagawa.
vitu.
Yeah, they're
They're
already in the
that's-
bedroom.
That's quite
Yeah,
common.
they're already in the
Because
bedroom.
they feel
That is cruel.
yeah, they feel entitled.
No,
Hizi
Ali
vitu za
Wambaya.
mtoto wetu.
Huwa
Hizi vitu
mbaya.
za mtoto wetu. You don't even think that mtoto wenu alikuwa
The clan?
anafanyia anatengenezea
Ai.
familia yake life. Everybody wants to come in like, okay, hizi ni vitu za mtoto wetu. Like the thing is, you're not entitled to other people's property. Other people's property is their property. You're not entitled to it. Just the fact that somebody maybe shared out of their good heart and their hospitality something small with you doesn't give you an entitlement to it. And I think these days one of the greatest things that I've learned to say is say no, because as days go by, I want to invest. I also have a kid. I also want that kid to have a good life. I want her to give a springboard that she deserves in life. So if you are asking me affects me in achieving everything that I've planned for myself and even doing anything else, I will say no. If you ask me for something and then my daughter comes and asks me something afterwards, guess who's going to be taken care of first? Not you. So we also need to learn how to start saying that no and teaching people that no is a complete sentence. That's what Sheikh is telling
No is a complete
And
sentence.
and the way I was about to advocate for you to get
Yeah.
Chipotle.
And you
Nothing.
don't have to give explanation as to why you're saying no. Just say no na story shapo. next thing, you know.
Wow.
Well, shake me if you tell me no. I'll still
Yeah,
eat
you know,
chipotle.
like I personally sometimes feel very lucky and a bit privileged because within our culture, yes, hiyo ombaomba iko, but most of the time mtu akija kukuomba, they're really pushed against the wall. You know, it's not a culture that there's some pride. Even for someone who's not very well off, there's some pride. There's a level of, I want to do this until when I'm against the wall, you know, like I know. And you know, in such people, there's certain people, when they contact you, you automatically know. This person doesn't
Yes.
normally contact me. I am not even going to ask what they want this money for.
So Ali, so for you, in the context of what you're speaking of, is yours the context of religious culture, or is it? And when I say tribe, I mean
No.
you're Uswahili.
So you see, there's a mixture. There's a mixture in everything. And when I say there's a mixture, is that there's this culture of you should be content with what you have.
Okay.
You know, so you'll find, you know, like people who live very happily and they live a very comfortable life, only to come to realize that they're not actually that wealthy. We don't put a lot of value in judging people based on the cars they drive, on things they have. That premium is not there, as I sometimes see it. You know, like with the people who were showing off haciendas in that Kenyan WhatsApp group. So yes, I mean there is maybe some value, but then there's not that high value. You know, like I've never thought of, even within the families, like let's say if ni decide kurudi home and then niangushe bonge la nyumba, like a crazy big house, that's not necessarily gonna raise my status in our society. But there's certain things that if I do, might raise my status in the society. You know, like for example, if let's say for example, like maybe build a school, or you know, or just but these tangible things, that's something that, you know, like as I've grown up and as I've interacted with so many other people, it's not something that's very valued. The one thing that I'll say with our ladies, they have a lot of gold. You know, like however poor they are, they tend to have a lot of gold. And this is something that they look at as saving sometimes. They accumulate a lot of gold, you know, like over their lifetime. Like when my grandmother passed away, the amount of gold that she had accumulated, it was quite extraordinary, you know, like, because I'd never seen it all put together in one place, but it was quite extraordinary.
Okay, explain that to me. So her, I guess her jewelry, or this is what you're talking about.
Jewelry, yeah.
So now, that stuff was then now divided amongst her children, or to the church? I mean, not the church, but to the mosque, or how are you guys?
No. So there's a division that is calculated from the children who are alive, from the people who are alive. There's a certain queue.
Okay,
there's a certain specific queue, and that's how. And in some cases, there are people who are well off and maybe they don't need that inheritance, and they're like, you know, my portion mnaweza kuitoa mgawiwe hao wengine au iende hivi. So but those things of big cars and you know, like I don't know whether to call it cultural, I don't know whether it's religious, I can't explain.
I think for you it seems like the religion supersedes uswahili wako.
So you see,
or do you merge them?
So you see, when we talk about Waswahili have been practicing Islam for more than 1,000 years. Don't believe what the GHC books tell you. You know, we've been practicing, Islam has been practiced in the East Coast, in the shores of the East Coast of Africa, longer than it has been practiced in parts of the Middle East. So this is essentially part and parcel of work. It's not something that
you can't.
picked up.
You're saying you can't separate the two.
It's hard to separate.
Okay,
the two.
Understood.
It's something, but then it's very distinct also. There's certain things that you will see with Waswahili only that you not necessarily see with other Muslim cultures.
Understood.
So there's certain parts that are distinct.
Okay.
But then I think that Islamic part regulates so many things.
Understood. And
Yeah.
in this case, wealth, division of wealth,
Yes.
and how you, I guess, help in like in the context of what we're talking about
And
here.
you know, one big part is also because we have a wealth tax. You know, like I don't know if there's any other, you know, like faith that has a wealth tax. Zakat is a form of wealth tax where you're supposed to give every year 2.5% of wealth that's unused that you have sat with for over 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's wealth. If it's cash in the
Don't
bank,
be a root to evil.
it's wealth that's unused. You're supposed to give it
this
up,
maker.
which goes out to help the poor. So to me, that's not, and that's the reason why there's not that pressure of, you know, like, you of course, you know, like, occasionally bless the spouse's family, you know, give them something, but it's not an obligation. It's not, and they're very appreciative when it happens, but there's no pressure, you know, like for a man. The pressure is for the man to take care of the wife and the children. That's the only pressure that's there. There's no pressure to cross over and take care of the
In-laws.
of the in-laws. That pressure is completely not there.
And that is why
Yeah.
I'll go back to the beginning. Choose wisely, my friends. Choose wisely.
But now when you say choose wisely, do you mean like you have conversations about this
No,
before
like,
you make that choice?
Of course, but not even that. Even
like,
the people,
like, will I be taking care of your dad and your mom?
those are conversations that you need to have. Or if, let's say, for example, you're talking. So, even back in the day, people used to do. My uncle told me this. Like, you know, people used to do background. There used to be background investigations.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
So if you're from a family of thieves or you're known to be thieves, there's no way that's happening.
You have no chance.
If you're from the family of Warogi, there's no way it's going to happen, because you come and tell your
So
dad.
and Naitrana is considered Warogi.
Again, me,
I'm asking for
I'm talking about
Mika.
Kikuyus. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm talking about Okuyos.
All right.
Okay?
And actually, Omosh, this is how the concept of dowry originated. Dowry was to show, because you're taking this girl from her home to your
Correct.
home. Are you gonna
Correct.
be able to take
Look
care of
after
her
her, yeah.
the same quality of life she was used to?
Yes.
So dowry isn't like buying her, but it's showing that you can actually support her.
Correct.
Versus what you were saying, that dowry is like you're taking over financial responsibility.
No,
of
no,
your-
I okay, and I think maybe you misunderstood that part.
And dowry actually for us does not go to the parents. It goes to the wife.
Okay.
You see, culture, so different. So me,
Yeah,
when I was talking
it goes to
about
the
what I'm
wife.
talking about, I'm
Yeah.
talking from the
Well,
Kikuyu perspective.
for us, the dowry is split across the board, right? You when you're because us guys, we do it once. You don't go several times. You go one time. Well, you will go one time. It's not that you go the first time, then they give you their list. No. When you go, unapewa your list sa hiyo. Now, part of what you do is kuna kalikeji unapewa
Yeah.
kabla uende.
Of course. Let's not
So
make
so
kids.
when you go,
if you've got good in-laws,
so when you go, yes, and there is a huge key. What he just said.
if you've got
If
good
you have the
in-laws.
right in-laws,
Yeah.
and you
That's-
find out whether they're in-laws or outlaws on that day.
And that is why I'm saying, again, you have to choose wisely.
But you know, it's interesting, these cultural differences, because within our culture, it's kind of frowned upon to ask for a lot of money. So it's funny because in Mombasa especially, yes, there are some families that will ask for a lot of money.
Even for us, like there's some people, even for us,
Yeah.
I know of situations where the girl's family was ridiculous with what they were requesting. The
And then-
Jama and his people said, "Todie, twende."
But now you see,
Dem akawachwa.
but now we see with us, you know, typically, it's very weird, you know, like, there was a time a cousin of mine was getting married, and then they asked for dowry, 1,000. And then, you know, another cousin of mine, because we're there, was like, do you mean dollars? No, 1,000 shillings. And that's what happens sometimes. But now it's up to you. You cannot just give 1,000 shillings. But that's kind of like a challenge to you. This is all we're asking for, but it's a challenge to you. So now,
Ndio tujue pali uko.
Yeah, it's a challenge to you. So
Yeah.
typically, no one will give 1,000. So in some cases, some people will actually give $1,000. But what you are asked for is, so it's frowned upon to ask those crazy amounts. Sometimes we want to scare some crazy amounts that dowry
there are ridiculous
that goes
situations.
in the
No.
millions in Kenya.
No, but
I'm like, yeah.
But like in Kikuyu culture, you are not supposed to ask more than you gave for your wife. Let's say technically, if my dad was alive, he would, when giving me away, he would not ask more than he gave for my mom.
Not even
So
that.
what
That's
is every
interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But then even
So
before,
the thing
even
is-
Washeke, even before the dad asks, he first has to complete his.
Oh,
yes, he
Alipedeni.
has to. He cannot.
Whatever
Yes.
balance
Yes,
he had,
yes,
whatever it was that he had,
then-
he has to complete that first.
But then
Yes.
you guys, there's one thing you've forgotten is that dowry negotiations these days are not traditional anymore.
That is true.
They're more led by greed.
Yes.
Again,
But I think it
Sika
depends.
Kitambo vile
I think it
zilikuwa-
depends,
it
Mika.
depends. It depends on the
It
family
depends.
you're getting.
Again,
When
it
you're
depends.
getting somebody person. But when you go somewhere and somebody asks you to get from a kid, they need like 5 million. So just 7 million.
No.
Sijui alienda akasoma akafanya nini.
Hapo
It's more
natembea.
greed.
Hapo natembea.
That's
No,
what I'm
no,
saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
to-
more of greed. It's not more of sijui
Of
ati ni
course.
culture ya nini ama nini.
But to Asheke's point, like for her dad, if he had not completed, the first thing he has to do is kumaliza. I'll give you
But how would I know that Ajamaliza?
oh no,
ama
because
watu
if you go and say I want to go and see your dad.
Correct.
If I want to go see your dad, Asheke says, hey, by the way, there's a guy who is coming. Kuna watu wanakuja.
Mhm.
Of course, now you have sent your representatives. Let's say you've sent Ali, you've sent Mika. Na Mika siende kuzusha huko.
Mika
You've
last,
sent-
he
you've
last
sent-
for Nini.
He'll ask
Chipotle.
for Chipotle. So Mika goes, your people go. So once that message has been fikishwad that tunataka, like, okay, so what we are going to do right now, I'm going to ask you guys to, it may not even be a surprise, but of course Washeke will have told them, I think there's some people who want to come and see you.
Yeah.
If that is the case, he's like, you know what? We'll get back to them. He himself
Then he goes
now
amalize huko.
anamaliza huko.
Okay.
My career, Babahanya,
Mhm.
his dad.
Kwa ufupi wanasema uwezi kwa credit na una deni.
30 years before he had gone back.
Oh.
He had to go, my father had to go and look for a relative
Okay.
on the
On
mother's
mom's side.
on the mom's side
Who could accept?
who, and good, luckily enough there was somebody people had put had
So
have
there was a
records.
record keeper.
Yes.
Where?
So there was no way that Mzee anything would have happened for Lawrence without him having
And
completed
do
his.
they factor in inflation?
They forget inflation. Whatever they discuss is what they agree.
kuna fines unapigwa.
Like in hizo
depending
fights,
when-
that is the inflation. That's
Hiyo
the
fine.
factoring of
Ah,
Yeah, hiyo ndio
inflation.
inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Pablo hapa anasema the debate stops at that point where we draw. No, I think actually Awar was asking what's a conclusion on oh wow, there were so many comments that were coming.
Choose your
in.
friends wisely.
Yeah, so Awar said
my power
guilty
died
now
on me.
Magivas you feel because you came to the US you have to pick everyone up. And she's also asking what's the conclusion on spousal in-law support? Are we helping or not? And then
Inategemea.
yeah, Pablo is saying the
Speak to
debate
your
stops.
spouses.
The debate stops at that point. We draw our own conclusions. The discussion is a thought-provoking exercise, sharing ideas. And then Awar says, these entitled clan folk are even doing it while you're alive, making plans for your assets, encroaching on your assets. It's a crabs in the barrel mentality.
The fences
yeah.
move every day.
Sasa ndo hizo mahasienda mmejenga huko, there are already people who are already writing calculations.
Hapana si hizo.
Yeah, and then
It's the ones that they keep moving are those ancestral.
and then
Those are where the fences move.
and then hapa I think Pablo ananiuliza, so Ali uko na gold, the one that grandma left. That I can't confirm or deny. This is a public forum. I can't confirm or deny.
Yeah, anaweza pigwa ngeta akitoka hapa.
Yeah.
Malakul maut.
Yeah. One mic speaking for watu wa Mlima. And then Slay says also dowry should be reasonable. Awar says there's no end to paying dowry. It's continuous even when you visit. Pablo feels dowry should be outlawed. Nowadays, the man and the woman team up to raise dowry. How can that tradition stand and its meaning got lost?
You do you, Pablo. You do you.
Okay, let me see.
For us guys, you know that dowry is used for, let's say, my sister is getting married. When they pay dowry, those cows that I get is what I would then now use to go get married.
Oh,
So let me ask you, Uno, will you ask for dowry?
Because you have all girls.
Ponjeri.
Wacha kwanza nimalize yangu kwanza.
Uno ni ule wa kucount ati
Yeah.
wamepeleka mpaka PhD level in the States.
Hey,
Okay.
guy more than
then-
Jesus.
Kwanza,
then-
he better not come with her when she's pregnant.
Awar says
Mara tatu.
if Awar says Slay says I've had some of requests that were very shocking. Nawar says if it could be they don't want the couple to get married. I mean, if the number is so high, Mbaka the guy leaves well. And
It's
then
ridiculous.
Slay says I don't know that this happens in Luoland. I could be. I don't know that this happens in Luoland. I could be wrong. And then
What's she talking about?
and then Slay anasema refund ya school fees. So I think this is all about dowry.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's it. That's a wrap. Uno Mike.
Wahenga walinena kilicho na mwanzo hakina budi kuwa na mwisho. Meli imetia nanga. We are about to wrap this puppy up. Washeke, please. Your parting shot, your parting words.
Will you buy that Chipotle?
and the 0% loan.
And
0%
No,
loan.
no, Mika.
0% low.
And we are still...
No, Mika.
when we,
Nakupeleka J Prime. Wachana na Chipotle.
wait, Ali.
Yeah.
Ali. And don't forget, this is how she looks when she's not prepared.
When she's not prepared.
When she's prepared, ugu ikatia.
Where?
Haya, washeke, twende kazi.
No is a complete sentence, and let's stop giving into emotional blackmail, because most of the time it is what it is. When they come to us, they come with their sad stories, doing nini. So that's how we end up giving, even though we don't want to give. And I think I'm suggesting the next topic, which is even more controversial, is where, as parents, we are using our kids as our retirement plan, or we have more kids than we can actually take care of, and we expect the older ones to shoulder their financial burdens. I think this goes hand in hand with what we're discussing. And, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for all the work you do and the sacrifice being here on a Friday evening. You could be doing other things. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Washeke.
Unprepped, that's how she looks. Parting shot.
Loan usisahau. 0%. In our culture, giving a loan is an act of charity.
Mika needs to wrap up.
Giving a loan is an act of charity.
She said no is a complete what?
Sentence.
No, me, I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for a loan.
No, she said no is a complete sentence.
You guys. Mika.
Nyinyi hamjasikia kitu Ali anaitisha. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you, Afan. Thank you for our regulars who are always here for us. Thank you for joining us and giving us your Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and Friday afternoon, and Saturday morning for those who are in Uko, Kenya. Just want to remind our listeners again. Remember, we are still in conjunction with Bora Lounge.
Correct.
What is Bora Lounge? Bora Lounge is a virtual lounge where we go to chill and watch sports together and catch up, network, and just have a good time together from the comfort of your home. We'll be streaming the Rugby World Cup matches. We'll be streaming the marathon this weekend and the EPL games. So do come and join us. And earlier in the Nikata, before the story of marathon. But anyway, Kipchoge Keino is participating in the Berlin Marathon tomorrow on Sunday. He's hoping to improve on his 6th place finish that he had in the Boston Marathon earlier on.
What time is that?
Berlin has always been a good. God that
Wait.
Berlin has always been a good hunting ground for Kipchoge. Remember, this is where he set his 2 world records, and he has only lost 1 race in Berlin. By losing, I mean a race that didn't finish fast. It's going to be a running field that is full of Kenyans. I think it has like 6 Kenyans in the men's side. In the female side, we only have 1 Kenyan, but we have a stiff competition from the Ethiopian runner. But we do believe in our girl that she's going to bring it back home. Omoj, Marathon Berlin in asubuhi -5 hours in America. Piga hesabu, wake up early.
2 a.m.
What type of math is that?
Man.
Even Malkiat Singh didn't do that.
Mika amekwambia amka mapema.
That is Mika math. Amka mapema. So, but the specific time, US time is 2 a.m. Eastern time. Saturday kuamka Sunday. Saturday kuamka Sunday, 2 a.m. Eastern time.
So there's no sleeping.
So
Why
I
doesn't he
think-
just say that?
Kulala.
Yeah.
Just stay up
Where's the
till
amka
12.
mapema?
Yeah. So 11 p.m. Pacific time. So that's a good time for akina Pablo. And then 2 a.m. Eastern time. So hakuna kulala kama hujala.
Wow.
Okay. Yep. So with that, remember, it's a weekend. Enjoy yourself. There's a good rugby game tomorrow. South Africa versus Ireland. Basically, number 2 and number 3 ranked in the World Cup are going to be meeting up. That's a very good game if you're interested in the rugby. And man, we never say this, but shout out to Colorado State.
Wow. Trendy.
Coach
What
Prime.
they're doing,
Trendy.
what Coach Prime is doing with that team, and every day, despite every challenge that he's facing, he's still pulling up and showing up. So I think you'll not be a complete black man walk black man if you're not supporting the Buffaloes. But anyway, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Remember, if you're drinking, don't drive. Uber is cheaper than a GUI. And COVID is back. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Asante Mika. Once again, thanks to our fans, my guests. Thank you, Washeke, for calling in. And to the birthday girl, what was her name again? Jojo?
Jojo.
Yeah,
yes,
Jojo, yeah.
yes. Happy birthday, Jojo, once more, and happy birthday, Njeri. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. A big shout out to Africans for Mental Health. This is actually, I think this is Suicide Prevention Month, if I remember correctly. So there's all sorts of different things going on. Check out africansformentalhealth.com. There's different things that are happening, and I am actually a team captain, Ali, next month. 5K walk.
How did you get that position?
I can recruit you if you want to be a team captain and learn how to walk 5K.
You must have paid someone to get that position.
I know people.
Okay.
So and that's for October 21.
Benny Hinn
And it's actually that one is for suicide prevention 5K.
Okay.
It's October 21 here in DC at the mall. But more to come on that as we get closer to that.
Yes.
And looking forward to Sunny Sistuki.
Sunny Sistuki, yes, next week.
Next week. Wow.
Yes, DJ
And
Sunny
you know,
Sistuki.
when I think about it, you guys are saying he's never been here.
No, he's never been on the One Mic
Nope.
show. No.
All these plethoras of people who we've had.
Sani ana Maringo, but carry
Yeah.
on.
No. Si Maringo, ni pesa.
Maringo.
Friday is when he makes his money. But you see, he sacrificed this Friday to be on the One Mic show.
And come and make his money here.
Yes.
Yes, something like that.
Si museme tu ni hivyo.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
Sana huyu mtetezi.
All right, so you guys have a good rest of your week, good rest of your weekend. The weather is supposed to be shaky. It's supposed to be bad. Actually, I think
In
maybe
the DMV.
when we leave here, we might be getting rained on or we may be getting pelted. I don't know which one it is. But be safe. Hug your loved ones. And, tomorrow is not promised. We've lost a lot of people that we know of or who are former DMVians, Poleni to Tara. Myrella, we lost the mom.
Yeah, Mama Tara.
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Rest in peace. And also to Laura Nyanjom, who also lost her dad. You know, rest in peace, Mzee. And you know, these things happen to us all the time. You know, and as we keep saying, you know, try to see how you can belong to some of these organizations that can help you, you know, in such rough times. But with that said, enjoy your weekend with your loved ones, and peace. See you next week.
All right, asante sana Omoshfire, asante sana Washeke. You know, your contributions are always valid and valued, and you've already given us an idea for the next topic. I think this is gonna be your third or fourth topic that you've suggested to us, so we really appreciate that. We like these suggestions to keep coming. Tell us what you want us to talk about. You noticed that this year we went a bit easy on the politics, but I've noticed that you guys have been missing politics, so we did some siasa leo kidogo. We'll be doing it kidogo kidogo, ivo ivo, and as you can see, we are still toying and experimenting with different formats to see which one will best serve you. And as Omoshfire said, next week DJ Sunny Sistuki is in the building, so set your calendar, set your alarm clock. This is going to be one very exciting interview. You're going to hear stuff from DJ Sunny Sistuki that you have never heard anywhere else. And I think Pablo was asking for the link for Bora Lounge. It is boralounge.com, very easy to remember. And then Award, if you're still listening, feel free to post, you know, like the links to the socials of Africans for Mental Health, and the links where people can get more information about that 5K walk, so that we can come in to support. Na kwa hayo machache, yeyote ambaye anataka kunipigia simu, nambari yangu bado ni ile ile 1-800 mteule, na operator akishika simu mwambie unataka kusema na mjukuu, lakini akikuuliza ni mjukuu yupi, unamkumbusha ni mjukuu yule yule wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Kwaherini.
Washaka, before you leave, don't worry. See, you're right behind me. I can see you, the way the screens have been set up. In addition to your comment or whatever, your suggested topic, there's another one that we can also tie it into finances. Is it valid that a woman who makes more money is not willing to deal with a man who makes less than her?
A woman who makes
more money,
yeah,
and dealing with a dude making less than her.
Or share standards.
Let that marinate.
Okay.
Aiden, daddy loves you. Jerry, daddy loves you. And happy birthday, mommy. Nemo, daddy loves you. Oh, and Jojo, happy birthday. Until next week, be blessed.
Baby, sogea karibu nikunongoneze sweetie. You look so fine, ungekuwa nguo ningevaa nipendeze cutie. Baby, wendo changu kideke umenikamata sifurukuti. Baby, wewe, changu chako changu, unanibana pete damu yangu. Kwani tuwe na usiri wangu, unanitembeza kwenye